I awakened a system that revealed everyone's secrets, and that system eventually made me a billionaire. It called itself 9. 30 seconds earlier, my dead artificial lens had heated, cleared, and drawn a white box around a hospital billing director. He had just told a mother to find $30,000 or watch her daughter lose treatment. I made him pay instead. 9 was the childlike voice inside my eye. It revealed one high-confidence secret at a time. Its first secret showed 20 stolen aid cards inside his black SUV. The overlay marked his key. So, I took his keys. Beside the pharmacy, a reward poster offered $25,000 for recovering the missing cards. The director had folded its bottom edge over while the mother begged. Hard use could blind me. My left eye had 72 hours left. The director stared at my hand. "Put those down, courier!" He saw the courier logo and stopped thinking. A guard caught my shoulder. 9's voice chirped inside my skull. Plan quality, reckless. Survival confidence, 61%. I whispered, "You woke up 30 seconds ago. Try being supportive." The guard tightened his grip. "Sir, hand over the keys." I tossed them to the mother beside the director. "Press the square button." The director lunged. She pressed it first. Outside, the SUV's rear hatch rose. A gray medical bag sat beneath the cargo light. 20 blue aid cards were strapped together inside it. The mother clutched a treatment estimate. Her daughter sat near the pharmacy window, hugging a stuffed rabbit and trying not to cry. The director pointed at the paper. "She still needs 30,000 by noon. Missed the deadline, and her insulin pump procedure comes off today's schedule." The mother pointed toward the hospital aid poster. "We qualified last week." He folded the poster over with one finger. "Then find the card they mailed you." Her card was sitting inside his open SUV. He had stolen the aid, threatened the child, then ordered security to use the mother as his excuse. By then, every phone in the lobby pointed at him. The guard released my shoulder and looked at the director. "Are those your cards?" The mother walked toward the doors. The director blocked her. "Those are hospital property." She stopped begging. Her shoulders straightened. "Then open the bag," the mother told him. "Look at me while you do it." Phones came up. The guard moved beside her. The director snatched back his keys and dragged me through the side exit. "You're coming with me." 9 painted a red line across my vision. Folding knife in right ankle sheath. I had one useful eye, $14, and a computer child announcing knives like weather alerts. We reached the covered ambulance lane beside his SUV. Behind us came the mother, the guard, and half the lobby. The director yanked out the medical bag. The little girl's name sat on the top card. Her mother slapped him across the mouth. "Clean contact, full lobby, beautiful." He pointed at me. "He planted those." The guard looked at the locked SUV. "With what key?" The director tore a copied pharmacy access badge from his belt. The badge flashed red against the bag's inner lock. 9 framed it in white. Counterfeit credential. Confidence, 98%. I took the badge. "This fake too?" The guard's posture changed. He had followed an administrator outside. Now he stood beside a thief wearing a costume accessory. The director stepped back. His heel turned inward. His hand dropped toward his ankle. 9's voice sharpened. "High load prediction available. Physical horizon, 5 seconds. Cost unknown." Run it. Pale outlines showed his next movement. He would drive his shoulder forward, then lift the blade under my ribs. My left eye went black. The director laughed and pulled the knife. I heard his shoe scrape. 5 seconds of movement still lived in my head. I stepped outside the angle, caught his wrist, and drove it against the SUV door. The knife struck metal. I twisted until his knees hit pavement. The guard kicked the blade away. 9 counted inside the darkness. Blackout duration, 12 seconds. I kept the director pinned against his own stolen bag. "Stay down. Your morning has enough bad ideas already." Before my sight returned, the mother took her daughter's card and the guard ripped away the director's hospital badge. The director was kneeling. Above him, the mother held her daughter's card. Through the glass, the lobby filmed. I pointed at the cards. "Restore every balance. Pay her treatment first." The folded reward poster beside the hospital doors still offered $25,000 for the missing cards. The director whispered, "Take the reward, walk away." I leaned closer. "You just offered me money printed on the evidence against you." The mother laughed. The director folded. He restored the balances while the guard watched. The pharmacy reopened the girl's treatment slot. The clinic owner checked the recovered cards and wrote the posted reward on the SUV's hood. $25,000. Her aid card covered $25,000. I paid the remaining $5,000. My bank balance had been $14 that morning. Now it held $20,000. The mother stared at the payment screen. "Your own eye needs treatment." "I already lost one eye saving a stranger," I told her. "I'm not watching somebody price your daughter into helplessness." She gripped my sleeve once, then went inside with the girl. The director remained on the pavement while people replayed the knife video. Police arrived after the fight and carried away the blade, the copied badge, and the man I had already beaten. Nine's voice returned when I thought the morning was finished. Financial outcome, positive. Health outcome, concerning. Plan quality remains reckless. I touched the hot artificial eye. What exactly are you? Designation, 9. External network handshake detected. Every nearby phone lost signal. Hannah Whitaker arrived in a black armored SUV with 2 private guards. The Whitaker Biomed executive security chief carried my knife video beside the serial alert. 9 flashed a warning across my vision. N09, the serial, has been recognized by an external network. The artificial eye had announced itself. Hannah wore a charcoal suit and carried herself like the hospital already owed her an explanation. The room reacted to her faster than it had reacted to the knife. The security chief pointed at me. That's the active serial. Hannah looked at my artificial eye, then at the scar running from my brow to my cheek. Her breathing stopped. Move away from him, Hannah ordered the guards. The security chief hesitated. Ms. Whitaker, he may have stolen company property. Hannah crossed the lane and took my face between both hands before I could object. Half the hospital was still filming. Hannah was also close enough for 9 to produce a new secret tag. Hannah Whitaker, Whitaker Biomed Executive, stress response elevated, recognition confidence 100%. Then I remembered her eyes. 3 years earlier, I had pulled a woman from a crushed vehicle while fuel ran beneath it. Flying glass took my right eye. The free clinic doctor saved my life and installed an artificial replacement with no clean history. I never learned the woman's name. Hannah's thumb stopped beside the old scar. You saved me. The security chief lowered his hand. I looked at the armored SUV, the company emblem, and the woman whose family apparently owned the device inside my face. Good, I told her. You can start by explaining why your company just pinged my skull. Hannah released me slowly. My father has searched for you for 3 years. That sounds expensive, Hannah answered. It was. Then he should have searched better. The security chief held out a handheld scanner. The device is registered company property. We need to secure it. I pointed at my face. Come collect it. Hannah took the scanner from him and switched it off. Nobody touches his eye. He may be carrying a missing prototype, the security chief warned. Hannah faced him. He is carrying the reason I am alive. The guards heard the difference. One had called me stolen property. Their employer had just called me a person in front of them. Hannah earned 5 minutes, nowhere near trust. I held out my hand. Phone. Hannah gave me hers after one suspicious pause. I photographed the N09 result frozen on the handheld scanner and handed the phone back to Hannah immediately. Send that to your father. Tell him I want the implant record, the surgeon record, and an explanation. If he offers me a check before answers, I leave. Hannah sent the clip without arguing. You always negotiate while bleeding? Only with billionaires? The corner of Hannah's mouth moved before she caught it. Get in the car. I stayed beside the director's SUV. That sounded like an order. Hannah opened the armored door herself. It's an invitation to meet the man who can identify your eye. My vision timer still showed less than 72 hours, so I climbed in. The armored door locked behind me. 9 marked the release switch, the reinforced glass, and the guard nearest my bedside. Useful information, creepy roommate. The security chief raised his handheld scanner again. It chirped inside the moving SUV. N09, the serial, remains active, he said. Progressive failure detected in the remaining eye. He reached beneath his jacket for restraint cuffs. I shifted my weight. You watched the knife video. Decide whether you want the sequel in traffic. Hannah took the scanner from him and hit the cabin stop button. The SUV pulled over hard enough to make his shoulder meet the door. Nobody restrains him, Hannah said. He is carrying company property, the security chief warned. Hannah unlocked my door and handed me the scanner. He is carrying his own face. Read the rest yourself. The screen showed the same countdown 9 had given me. 71 hours and 43 minutes remained before the disease in my left eye might finish the job. Hannah opened a medical kit built into the wall and held out one sealed emergency dose. Take it. Answers first. The dose buys time, it buys nothing else. Hannah pointed at the open door. Walk if you prefer the original deadline. Rich family concern still sounded like an order. At least she had unlocked the door before giving it. I swallowed the dose. 9's voice returned inside my skull. Tissue failure estimate revised. Stabilization window, 30 days. High load blackout cost unchanged. The old timer blinked out. A 30-day marker replaced it, while the blackout warning stayed red. Hannah held out her hand for the scanner. I returned it. She showed me the hospital video on her phone. The mother's slap played first. My $5,000 payment followed. You kept $20,000, Hannah said. Excellent math. Hannah tapped the scanner. You still need specialist care, I said. I need answers first. Hannah sat beside me instead of across from me. My family can give you both. That is how rich families make control sound helpful. Her jaw tightened. My father wants to repay you, I told her. Then he can start by remembering I'm attached to the eye. The security chief opened his mouth. Hannah raised one finger and he swallowed the line. The security chief stopped arguing. Hannah stayed beside me instead of returning to her seat. Trust remained far away, but she had earned the next question. Why didn't you contact us? Hannah asked. I woke in a free clinic with an artificial eye, 1 useful eye and 3 jobs. Your reward posters lost the competition. Most rich people argued with facts. Hannah looked away and gripped her phone instead. Better. Apartment blocks gave way to private roads and stone walls. We stopped at a gated estate large enough to have its own weather problems. The outer guard saw my courier jacket and pointed toward a narrow service gate. Hannah lowered her window. Open the front gate. The delivery entrance is clear, the guard said. Hannah's voice cooled. He isn't a delivery. The main gates opened. The service gate stayed shut. A petty win still counted. I rode through the front gate. A house manager opened my door, saw my courier jacket, and looked past me for the important guest. Hannah pointed at me. He is the guest. The manager snapped upright and stepped aside. Inside, one man waited in a quiet dining room. Edgar Whitaker was Hannah's father and the chairman of Whitaker Biomed. He looked exhausted. He came around the table before I reached it. Then one of the richest men in the city bowed to a broke courier. I owe you my daughter's life, Edgar told me. I checked the exits. Rich families could turn gratitude into control before dessert. Edgar straightened and placed a black card on the table. Hannah watched me. Her father watched the artificial eye. 9 rated the room as a terrible place for a reckless plan. Then Edgar delivered the next problem himself. Nico Barrett, he said. I want to make you my son. Edgar Whitaker had just offered to make me his son. I asked for a 30-day driving contract instead. His black settlement card stayed between us on the dining table. $5 million sat behind one strip of plastic. My entire bank balance could have hidden inside the corner scratch. Edgar studied me. You would rather work for Hannah than join the family? I would rather earn the seat beside Hannah than inherit one across from her. Hannah clicked her pen. You're driving. Don't confuse proximity with romance. I asked for 30 days, I told her. You're already negotiating month 2. The corner of Edgar's mouth moved. Cyrus's did not. Hannah stood beside her father, still wearing the charcoal suit from the hospital. Driving me gives you access to company doctors and the Project 9 records. Exactly. Edgar pushed the card closer. Take this separately. It cannot repay an eye, but it can remove immediate pressure. While her father watched me, Hannah placed a tiny blue mark on the card's lower edge. The mark looked like a fortune hunter test. Billionaires charged extra for subtlety anyway. I slid the card beneath my plate. I'll drive Hannah for 30 days, I told Edgar. You get time to explain the eye. I keep my name, my choices, and the right to leave. Hannah added, I control the route and the contract. Good, I said. Neither of us needs another owner. Edgar nodded. Agreed. The man at the far end of the table set down his glass harder than necessary. Cyrus Vane was Hannah's brother-in-law and the chief operating officer of Whitaker Biomed. He wore family access like a medal. My seat offended him before I spoke. Cyrus smiled. A driver contract is sensible. Charity should come with a job description. He had class contempt, polished shoes, and no imagination. Hannah's stare warned him once. Cyrus ignored it. A house manager hurried into the room with a phone. Mr. Whitaker, the free clinic supply truck is being held at the outer gate. The account authorization was withdrawn. I stopped touching my food. The free clinic was the place that saved me after I lost my eye. Its children had 48 hours of medicine left on that truck. My phone rang before Edgar could answer. The clinic owner spoke over an idling engine and 3 worried voices. Nico, the gate refuses our delivery code. 1 child runs out of seizure medicine tomorrow morning. Cyrus reached across the table and ended the call with his thumb. Family business should stay inside the family. I looked at his hand on my phone. Touch it again and the family gets a live demonstration. Cyrus slowly removed his hand. Hannah saw it. Edgar saw it. The house manager suddenly found the ceiling fascinating. The truck's horn sounded beyond the estate wall, 1 short blast. The driver was still waiting. So were the children. Edgar looked toward Cyrus. Why was it withdrawn? Cyrus lifted his glass. I canceled an unapproved charity expense. We were preparing to spend $5 million on a man who rejected us. The company can stop funding every stray connected to him. He had turned children's medicine into punishment because I refused his family. I stood. 9's voice murmured inside my skull. Repair cycle active. Protein deficit severe. My stomach cramped hard enough to bend me. Cyrus laughed. Sit down. The kitchen will pack leftovers for your room. Sat and emptied 2 serving dishes while the table watched. The repair cycle wanted protein, and the estate had plenty. Lena Whitaker entered during my third plate. She was Hannah's louder younger sister and held the hospital clip on a phone already recording. Sadie Whitaker followed her. The other twin watched more than she spoke, which made her the dangerous one. Lena aimed the camera at my food. Hannah brought home a rescued man and he's speedrunning dinner. Sadie checked the black card beneath my plate, her eyes narrowed. I pointed my fork at Lena's phone. Post that, and I charge appearance fees. Lena grinned. With what appearance? Mine. Yours needs work. Hannah coughed into her hand. Cyrus's smile tightened when no one laughed with him. Edgar signed the driver agreement. Then he added one line by hand. Only Hannah or I may terminate this contract, Edgar said. Cyrus cannot. Cyrus's smile tightened. My contract stayed protected. Cyrus had lost the power to fire the driver he already hated. The house manager led me toward the lower floor. Cyrus had selected a basement room beside the service hallway. I looked at the polished guest staircase, then at the basement door. Very subtle, I told him. Cyrus adjusted his cuff. Drivers sleep near the cars. Good. When I own a building, remind me to put your office near the trash compactor. His eyes cooled. You will not last 30 days. He brushed past my duffel on the stair landing. A white warning flashed over the bag. Unregistered prototype vial detected. Fresh glove fibers. 9 offered 1 extra line. Fiber match, Cyrus Vane's right glove. Confidence, 94%. I kept walking. The system could reveal one secret. I still had to decide how much fun to have with it. Lena waited behind the basement door with a fishing line tied to a metal bucket. Sadie watched through a small hallway camera and tried hiding her smile. I opened the door halfway, saw the line, and stepped over it. Lena frowned at her phone. He missed it. He saw it, Sadie corrected. I flipped a quarter through the fishing line loop and caught the opposite hinge. The line changed angle. The bucket now waited above the hallway. Sadie zoomed her camera toward the coin. Her smile disappeared first. Footsteps approached behind me. Cyrus came downstairs with family security and an engraved wooden wine case. He set the case on the landing and opened it. One foam slot inside was empty. Stop, Cyrus ordered. A neural prototype vanished from this case after Nico entered the house. Then he pulled the basement door open. The bucket dropped on him. Cold water flattened his hair and soaked his suit. The wine case hit the carpet and sprang open. Lena covered her mouth. Sadie lowered the camera very slowly. I caught the bucket before it hit the floor. Your security system appears emotional. While Cyrus shouted at the twins, I removed the vial from my duffel. I wrapped it in the wet towel and slid it into the empty foam slot inside his open wine case. 9 supplied the timing. My hands did the useful part. The security chief reached us. Cyrus pointed at my room. Search everything. Hannah came down behind him. What exactly are we searching for? Restricted prototype, Cyrus snapped. Your driver stole it within an hour of entering the house. Hannah kept her eyes on me while security opened the bag. Fair enough, she had known me for one armored car ride. Security opened my duffel. Clothes, delivery gloves, 4 protein bars, no vial. Cyrus stared at the empty duffel. His smile stopped working. I nodded toward his wine case. Search everything means everything. The security chief lifted the foam insert. The prototype vial sat beneath Cyrus's engraved initials. Nobody spoke for 2 seconds. Lena broke first. That is aggressively embarrassing. Cyrus turned on me. You moved it. From your office into your case? I asked. That sounds like a confession with extra walking. Hannah picked up the vial. Its sealed batch label matched Cyrus's executive inventory code. Her gaze hardened. Why was this near Nico's room? Cyrus looked at the twins, the guards, the bucket, and the camera still recording. Every easy lie had witnesses now. Let your driver prove himself where everyone can watch, Cyrus told Hannah. 3 throws. He led us through the rear doors toward the estate throwing yard. 3 wooden targets stood beyond a painted line. A supply truck waited behind the fence, its driver holding the clinic paperwork. Cyrus opened a steel case of throwing axes. He had won several regional competitions. Framed photographs beside the range showed him holding 3 regional trophies. Cyrus handed me an axe. I bounced 1 axe off a side stump handle first. I adjusted my grip. 3 throws each. Closest group to center wins, Cyrus announced. He pointed at the truck. If you win, the clinic gets every box. If you lose, you leave this estate tonight and Hannah tears up your contract. Hannah stepped forward. You do not control his contract. I took the axe. He already bet the children's medicine. Let him finish ruining his day. Cyrus's jaw jumped. The rule was simple. 3 throws, no redo. The truck moved according to the winner. 9 marked the distance and crosswind. Motor assistance unavailable, the system reported. Trajectory modeling only. Fine, I whispered. I enjoy earning the part people clap for. Cyrus threw first, his axe buried in the inner red ring. Lena whistled. Sadie aimed her camera at me. My first throw hit the outer ring. Cyrus smiled. You should have taken the money. My miss left the medicine behind the fence. Every camera turned toward me, and Cyrus celebrated early. Cyrus's second axe landed even closer. I adjusted my grip and threw again. My blade shaved the edge of his first mark and buried beside it. The twins stopped whispering. Cyrus looked at the board, then at Nine's artificial shell in my face. A lucky correction. His third throw struck dead center. He walked to the target before I released mine. Then he wrapped one hand around the engraved axe handle and rested his white cuff against the wood. Hit closer, Cyrus challenged. Try not to cut the family. Hannah snapped. Move away from the target. Cyrus kept smiling because the cameras were on him. His stare dared me to miss. Nine placed one thin line through the crosswind. I exhaled and threw. The axe crossed the yard, split Cyrus's engraved handle, and buried through his loose cuff into the target. The blade missed his wrist, his cuff stayed pinned. The smile vanished. Lena checked the target twice. Sadie lowered her phone and stared at me instead. Cyrus tugged his sleeve. The ripped cuff held him beside the ruined bullseye while every camera kept recording. I walked over and pulled my axe free. 3 throws, I told him. You should have stopped at 2. The truck keys hung from a lanyard at Cyrus's belt. Hannah took them and tossed them to the driver. Deliver every box, Hannah ordered. The truck reversed through the estate gate and headed toward the clinic. Its driver held the horn as he passed the throwing yard. Lena laughed while Sadie filmed Cyrus's pinned sleeve. Petty, loud, fully deserved. My phone rang again. The clinic owner had the children behind her this time. She aimed the camera at the truck crossing their gate. Nobody gave a speech. A little boy hugged a medicine box and yelled my name badly. That was enough. Cyrus heard it through the speaker. His own bet had made the clinic celebrate the driver he tried removing. He shoved the broken handle into his wet jacket. The camera had already captured everything. Edgar arrived in time to see Cyrus holding the other half. He looked at the target, then at the vial in Hannah's hand. My handwritten contract stands, Edgar told Cyrus. You have no authority over Nico's employment. Cyrus had tried to remove me as a thief. Now he could not even fire me. Back inside, Hannah lifted my plate. The $5 million card still sat beneath it. Her blue mark remained untouched. You saw the mark, Hannah said. I answered. I see a lot today. Hannah pressed. And you knew I was testing you? Told her. I knew you were scared. $5 million could buy the wrong answer. Hannah looked toward the yard where Cyrus was still cutting his cuff loose. I tested the wrong person. That is becoming a family hobby. She took the card and slipped it into her bag. Lena and Sadie watched where it went. I should have noticed that. Hannah's phone rang. She read the screen, and the last trace of humor left her face. The hospital buyer controls a $120 million pediatric contract, she told me. If I lose it, my division loses the equipment program and the free clinic loses its machines. How friendly is he? Hannah answered. He requested dinner alone. Cyrus appeared in the doorway with a torn cuff and a fresh smile. A professional meeting. Your driver should stay in the car. His torn cuff was still hanging open. He looked pleased anyway. I did not trust the meeting. Hannah picked up the car keys and threw them to me. Drive. Hannah told me to drive before Cyrus finished smiling. The hospital buyer canceled while we crossed the estate gate. Then he made Hannah wait 6 days. The emergency dose had bought me 30 days. He used 6 of them acting important. On the second day, Hannah decided my courier jacket would start the wrong fight upstairs. She took me to a resale shop and pointed at a $40 black jacket. I bought it. Then Nine marked a dusty Whitaker surgical lens in the display case. The clerk had priced it at $18,600. Drivers collect antique optics now? The clerk asked. Only the cheap ones. Nine matched the lens to a public catalog and a standing collector order. The exact serial was worth $3.2 million. I paid the listed price. The clerk saw the order on my phone and locked the display. Pricing error. Sale cancelled. Hannah slid my receipt beneath his hand. You sold it, give him the lens. He looked at her suit, my jacket, and the live escrow notice. His voice changed first. Sir, we can arrange a private transaction room. I like the counter. I accepted the order where he had laughed at me. The scan heated my artificial eye and blurred the edge of Hannah's face, but the collector's payment cleared. I left with $3.2 million, one decent jacket, and a clerk who had learned to read receipts. Then the buyer gave Hannah 10 minutes to reach his office. The contract was worth $120 million. Lose it, and the free clinic lost its pediatric machines with the rest of her program. That was a clean rule. Rich man signs, children keep equipment, Rich man walks, trucks start taking it away. We stopped first at Whitaker Biomed for the sample case. Hannah's assistant met us outside the executive elevators. She handled Hannah's schedule and carried 3 phones. Lena's Axe-Yard video was playing on one screen when she looked at my courier jacket with open amusement. "So this is the driver who nailed Cyrus to a target," the assistant said. Hannah kept walking. His cuff was pinned. The assistant smiled at me. "Shame, I preferred the first version." Hannah clicked her pen once. The pen click was back. The assistant handed me a silver guest badge and a sealed equipment case. Hannah had drawn a tiny mark beside the badge number. Then Hannah spoke loudly enough for the secure office to hear her. "The buyer's revised route is in the blue pouch on my desk," Hannah told her assistant. "Nico, take the sample case to the car, use the lobby elevator." Her assistant gave one tiny nod. The route was bait. So was my marked badge. 9 framed the badge inside my vision. Access limited to public floors, tamper marker present. I turned toward the elevator and let the secure office door settle almost closed behind us. Before the elevator arrived, a maintenance worker slipped from Hannah's office with the blue pouch under his jacket. His badge flashed green, then showed one line on the reader. Credential source, Cyrus Vane, Executive Office. 9's voice sharpened. Cloned credential, current holder unauthorized. Hannah had flushed the clone. I handled the person wearing it. I threw the sealed sample case. It hit his chest hard enough to knock loose the pouch. He charged me instead of running. Amateur mistake. I caught his sleeve, turned with his momentum, and sent him into the elevator wall. He swung once. I blocked the punch and pinned his wrist against the reader. The cloned badge flashed green again. Hannah saw Cyrus's office label herself. The maintenance worker tried biting my hand. I pressed his face against the wall. That move has never improved a resume. The assistant picked up the dropped pouch. Inside sat copied access cards and a list of Hannah's upcoming hospital meetings. Hannah took the cloned badge. Her pen stopped moving. "You baited the office," the assistant told her. Hannah kept her eyes on Cyrus's office code. "I baited whoever kept entering it." The assistant looked at me. "He does make security incidents entertaining." Hannah handed the sealed case back. "Car, now." I caught the assistant smiling at me again. Hannah caught it too. Her pen clicked twice. That looked a lot like jealousy. Terrible timing. I approved. Company security held the mole after I had already stopped him. Hannah pocketed the cloned badge and did not accuse Cyrus. She had his office code, not his order. In the car, Hannah sat beside me instead of behind me. Her assistant took the back seat with the sample case. "You knew the badge was marked," Hannah said. I told her, "You keep testing a system you don't understand." Hannah turned toward me. "I am testing you." I tapped the wheel. "Then update your results. I throw expensive samples when annoyed." Her mouth almost moved. The pen clicked again. "You do that when you're worried," I told her. Hannah closed the pen. "The buyer asked for dinner alone. He has delayed this contract for 6 weeks." I asked, "What happens if you refuse?" Hannah looked through the windshield. "He moves the equipment program to another division. My staff gets cut. The free clinic loses its machines by Friday." I counted them aloud. 3 victims for 1 dinner. Hannah closed the pen again. "He likes efficient threats." I smiled. "Good, I'll make him regret the meeting." Hannah looked at me. "Do not hit him before he signs. I'll try something more painful." We reached the hospital with 4 minutes left. The buyer waited in a glass office above the pediatric wing. He controlled hospital purchasing, and the contract folder sat beneath his hand in full view. He made Hannah stand while he finished a personal call. The whole floor watched her waiting through the glass. Then he looked at me. "Drivers wait downstairs." I placed the equipment case beside Hannah and stayed. The buyer's smile turned oily. "Your father's charity project follows you everywhere." Hannah opened the contract folder. "We met every technical and pricing requirement." The buyer touched her wrist with 2 fingers. "I asked for 1 private dinner. You come alone, leave the assistant, bodyguards and driver outside." Hannah removed his hand. "The answer is still," the buyer closed the folder. "Then your division loses the program. I will remove every pediatric unit already assigned to your clinic partners." He turned his desk screen toward Hannah. A removal truck waited outside the free clinic with its rear doors open. The pickup order carried his electronic approval. Hannah's assistant leaned over the desk. "Those children are using the machines today." The buyer looked at her badge. "Assistants are easier to replace than equipment." Hannah stepped between them. Her pen clicked hard enough to echo. He pointed through the glass toward children waiting below. "Let them explain your pride to their parents." He had threatened Hannah, her staff, and the clinic in under a minute. Efficient little parasite. Now I could enjoy myself. I pulled a chair away from his desk and sat in it backward. "Bay 14, I told him. "Private warehouse on the west side. 24 pediatric pumps behind a lock registered to your personal phone." The buyer's hand stopped on the contract. Hannah looked at me. Her assistant stopped smiling. The buyer recovered first. I have no idea what you were talking about. 9 placed a faint frame around his open laptop. His laptop already had a warehouse dashboard open. I had looked at it when we entered. 9 could reach one camera through a device I had physically scanned. The trace would lead back to my artificial eye. 9 gave me the cost in plain language. Local access possible. Trace probability 62%. Visual stability loss likely. I watched the buyer reach for his phone. Do it. He tapped a contact and turned away. Cyrus, your driver is in my office naming the warehouse. Hannah heard every word. The buyer's face changed. He ended the call. Too late. The call had linked Cyrus to the warehouse in front of Hannah. Hannah placed the cloned badge beside the contract folder. Interesting timing. The buyer shoved the badge aside. Get out before I have all 3 of you arrested. I stood. His smile returned when I stood before him. Then his laptop switched to a live warehouse camera. Bay 14 filled the screen. 24 pediatric pumps stood behind a locked cage. Several crates carried hospital inventory stickers that had been scratched halfway off. The buyer slapped the laptop shut. Hannah's assistant opened it again. Bay 14 stayed on screen. He pointed at me. Fabricated. The camera's red indicator started blinking. His office phone rang. The assistant hit speaker before he could stop her. A warehouse worker spoke over a forklift alarm. Sir, why are the pediatric pumps locked in your private bay? 3 clinic trucks are waiting, and the families are asking where the units went. Outside the glass wall, 3 employees stopped typing and looked up. The buyer grabbed the phone. Unload nothing. The warehouse worker hesitated. The camera just lit up under your office account. Staff outside the glass wall had started watching. 2 hospital guards finally entered from the hall. The buyer pointed at me. Break his artificial eye if he resists. The first guard reached for my collar. My vision flickered from the network trace, so I watched his shoulders instead. I caught his thumb, turned him into the empty chair, and stopped with his wrist against the desk. The second guard moved toward the laptop. Hannah's assistant rotated the screen toward him. Bay 14 filled his view. Those pumps belong downstairs, the second guard muttered. The buyer snapped, You work for me. The guard removed his hand from the laptop. I work for the hospital. He stepped aside. The first guard stopped fighting under my grip. The buyer pointed at both uniforms entering his office. He had just given the room 2 more witnesses. Beautiful cell phone. He lunged for the laptop cable. I released the guard, planted my foot against the desk, and stopped it sliding. You have 10 seconds. For what? Sign the full contract, release every pump, pay the overdue clinic invoices, then apologize to Hannah where your staff can hear it. The buyer laughed too loudly. You are a driver. Correct. I know where to take people who miss deadlines. He called for security. Nobody entered. His purchasing staff had seen the pumps. The assistant had opened the office door. Hannah stood in the doorway with the contract while the whole floor listened. The buyer tried a new threat. Cyrus will destroy your position. Hannah lifted the cloned badge. He can explain his position after this. The buyer looked at the screen, the staff, Hannah, and me. Then he looked down. The contract folder had fallen beside his chair during the scramble. He dropped to his knees to grab it. I placed the pen on top. Perfect height, I told him. His face turned dark red. What amount makes this disappear? Hannah answered before I could. 120 million, full term, no private dinner. The buyer signed on his knees. He authorized the pump release from the floor. He paid the overdue invoices. Then he faced his own staff. I apologize to Hannah Whitaker, the buyer forced out. The contract is hers. The assistant crossed her arms. Louder. Purchasing could not hear its new policy. He repeated it. The warehouse worker unlocked the cage on speaker. Staff started calling Hannah for delivery instructions instead of looking at the buyer. The assistant moved beside Hannah and held the signature page toward the staff. She had chosen her side. Hannah's pen stayed closed. The signed $120 million folder landed in her hands while the stolen pumps rolled toward clinic trucks. Her division kept the program. The free clinic kept its machines. The man who had priced access to her ended the meeting asking permission to stand. 9 cut in before anyone could celebrate. Local trace confirmed. Unknown observer received the N09 handshake. Hannah looked at the buyer's unanswered phone. Cyrus was calling again. She let it ring. We reached the parking garage 2 minutes later. I started the sedan and pulled down the ramp. The brake pedal dropped to the floor. 9 flashed. 5 seconds of red movement across my vision. Concrete pillar ahead. Delivery truck crossing right. Open loading lane left. I downshifted, yanked the parking brake, and threw the sedan sideways into the loading lane. Metal screamed. The rear bumper clipped a barrier and spun us to a stop. My shoulder struck the door. White static washed across my left eye, and 9's voice broke into clipped fragments. The local breach had already drained more vision than I wanted Hannah to see. Hannah hit the opposite door, recovered, and unbuckled my seatbelt before checking herself. "Can you see me?" I answered. "Enough to know you look angry." Hannah checked the cut on her palm. "I am deciding who to bury." Unbuckled. "Get in line." I kicked my door open. Fluid ran beneath the car. Hannah crouched beside the severed hose and touched the clean cut with one finger. "Break line," she confirmed. The buyer had lost a contract. Somebody had answered with attempted murder. My phone rang before Hannah could call anyone. A video opened by itself. Lena and Sadie sat at a casino table with 3 men behind them. Edgar's black settlement card lay beside a stack of chips. Lena tried looking brave. Sadie watched the camera and counted exits. A man behind the phone held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes, driver, the voice told me. Bring the money, bring the Project 9i, miss the clock, and the twins go upstairs. Hannah checked her bag. The card was gone. I figured the twins stole it to prove I was bluffing about money. Their prank had become a hostage problem. I stepped away from the wrecked sedan. Hannah grabbed my arm. "We need the police. We have 5 minutes." I sent the casino location to her security team, then started running toward the street. The man who ordered the hit was not the buyer. By midnight, I was going to meet the person his casino answered to. The casino gave me 5 minutes to trade my eye for Lena and Sadie. The location pin sat 3 blocks from the hospital garage. I shoved $500 at a courier, took his motorcycle, and reached the private entrance with 37 seconds left. He kept the cash and yelled after his helmet. "Fair trade." Nine's voice stuttered inside my skull. "Visual stability, 18%, high load scan unavailable." I muttered, "Wonderful timing." Nine replied, "Plan quality catastrophic." I told the system, "I missed you too." The door host saw my artificial eye and opened the lock before I knocked. That told me the N09 serial had bought admission. It also told me the people inside expected my face. A narrow hall emptied into a private gaming room. Lena and Sadie sat at a black table beneath one hanging light. Thin straps held their wrists to the chair arms. Edgar's $5 million settlement card lay beside a pile of red debt markers. Lena's brave expression lasted until she saw me bleeding through my jacket from the crash. Sadie kept counting doors. A broad man in a velvet jacket stood behind them. He wore a gold key on a chain and kept one hand on Lena's chair. The casino predator smiled at my courier helmet. 32 seconds. I expected somebody richer. I set the helmet on his chip stack. "You kidnapped 2 girls for a card you can't charge. You're done judging anybody's money." A second man waited near the cash cage in a dark suit. He looked like the manager because everybody called him that. Nobody looked at him before moving. They looked toward the balcony. A quiet woman sat above the room with one ankle crossed over the other. A black access chip rested between 2 fingers. The same small crest was cut into every private room lock. The fake manager glanced at her. She tapped the chip once. Only then did the doors close behind me. Good. The real boss was on the balcony. The man in the loud jacket only looked important while she stayed still. The predator lifted the settlement card. "Your little sisters arrived with $5 million and no cents." "They're Hannah's sisters," I told him. "I'm not responsible for every bad decision in that family." Lena pulled against the strap. "We borrowed the card," Sadie corrected her. "We stole it." Lena shot her a look. "That word makes it sound criminal." Sadie held my stare. "It was inside Hannah's bag." I stared at both of them. Lena folded first. "We wanted to prove you were pretending to be poor." Sadie nodded toward the red markers. "He gave us credit against the card. Then every draw changed after we started winning." The predator squeezed Lena's chair. "They owe $900,000. The card needs Hannah's authorization, so it's decoration." The predator leaned close enough for Lena to turn away. "If the debt stays unpaid, they spend the night upstairs entertaining private members." Nobody smiled after that. I looked at the strap cutting into Sadie's wrist. The predator had rigged their debt, threatened to sell their safety, and used my eye as the price of release. He had used his last warning. I wanted him stripped in front of everybody. I opened my banking screen and placed it on the table. $3.2 million filled the display. Lena stopped pulling at the strap. Sadie stopped counting doors. The predator checked the balance twice. His hand left Lena's chair and moved toward my phone. I covered it with one finger. One blind draw. His smile widened. "You want to gamble?" I told him. "I want you to lose where your employees can watch." The fake manager set down a matte black case with 6 drawers. 1 held gold, 5 held blank steel. He would spin it under a smoked cover. Gold freed the twins. Blank gave the house my money and artificial eye. I added my own terms. "If I draw gold, the debt disappears. Your ownership share pays every red-marked victim from this month." The predator touched the key on his chain. "You think 3 million buys my share?" I told him. "No. Your mouth just offered it for free." He looked toward the balcony woman. She did not move. The fake manager swallowed. The house will honor the wager. The predator laughed and slapped his gold key onto the table. Take the draw. He had accepted in front of his staff. Good. Nobody could pretend the wager was unclear. The fake manager set my phone against a reader. The balance dropped into a temporary hold. Every liquid dollar I owned left my reach. Nine's voice tightened. Mechanical irregularity detected. System shutdown approaching. The fake manager spun the case beneath the cover. I watched his left thumb press under the lower right hinge. A half-moon scratch flashed beside that corner. The case had been opened from underneath so often the finish had worn thin. The balcony woman watched my eye instead of the game. 9 gave me one final line. Winning drawer moved to lower right position. Confidence. My vision went black. The voice disappeared with it. The room stayed loud enough to map. Lena breathed fast on my left. Sadie pulled once against her strap on my right. The predator tapped the gold key against the table ahead of me. The fake manager tried rotating the case again. I caught the scratched corner before it moved. He froze. I slid my hand beneath the smoked cover and counted the drawers by touch. 1, 2, 3. The predator started laughing. He can't see. 4, 5. The sixth drawer resisted because the hidden latch still pressed against it. I hooked my finger under the edge and pulled. Metal scraped. The gold marker dropped into my palm. Nobody moved. Then Lena made a sound halfway between a laugh and a threat. Sadie whispered, I told you he saw the switch. I didn't see anything, I told her. Try to keep up. My sight returned as a gray blur. The predator stared at the gold marker like it had insulted his family. I held it above the table. Release them. The fake manager reached for the straps. The predator slapped his hand away. The draw covered the debt. The eye was ordered separately. He had lost the wager. Then he tried hiding behind wording. I grabbed his gold key and cut Lena's strap with its sharpened edge. Sadie twisted free when I sliced hers. The predator swung a glass bottle at my head. I ducked late. The bottle clipped my shoulder and broke against the table. A shard opened my forearm. Real blood. Real pain. Still his mistake. I drove my elbow into his ribs, caught his collar, and slammed him across the blind draw case. The 6 drawers burst open. 5 blank markers scattered across the floor. The gold one stayed in my hand. The fake manager pointed toward the doors. Take him down! 8 men stepped forward. Then they stopped. Every one of them looked at the balcony. The quiet woman had not given the signal. The fake manager finally looked up. Ma'am? She lowered the black access chip to the rail. Nobody moved. The predator struggled beneath my arm. I own this floor. One of his own employees removed the gold keychain from his neck. That confidence lasted less than a minute. He was cooked before the blood reached my wrist. A phone on a tripod beside the table still streamed the game to private members. Its camera faced the balcony. I pulled the cable, turned the lens toward the ceiling, and dropped the phone into an ice bucket. The feed died before the woman came downstairs. I had enough information to expose her. I kept her name off the stream. Your manager lost, I called toward the balcony. Your predator lost. If you still want the Project 9i, come collect it yourself. The woman stood. The fake manager stepped aside before she reached the stairs. The guards opened a path without being asked. By the time her shoes touched the gaming floor, every guard had already shown who they obeyed. The predator twisted under my arm. Maris, the buyer, paid for the eye. That gave me her name. I recognized Maris Delaney from charity photos beside half the city's hospital money. Inside this room, grown men waited for her fingers. Maris stopped across the table. Alec Granger paid for the Project 9i intact. The twins were bait. Lena moved behind me. Sadie moved behind Lena. Maris looked at the dead streaming phone. You knew this floor answered to me, I told her. Your fake manager was scared to blink without permission. Maris tapped the dead phone. You killed the feed before using my name. I said, I don't give usable footage to people who threaten my family. Maris studied the cut on my arm. You still think I'm threatening them? I answered. You accepted money from a man who wants my eye. Your next action answers the rest. The fake manager placed a sealed black envelope on the table. The N09 serial was printed across the front. Alec Granger's name appeared beneath the payment line. Maris had begun the night on his side. Now every employee in the room watched her choose. She took a silver lighter from the predator's pocket. The flame caught one corner of the order. Maris held it until Alec's name curled black. Then she dropped the burning envelope into the ice bucket on top of the dead phone. Return the payment, Maris ordered the fake manager. Tell Alec Granger I rejected the asset. Her men heard her reject a powerful investor. She could not pretend neutrality after that. The predator shouted, You can't give away my share. Maris looked at the gold marker in my hand. You already did. His own staff took his office keys, opened the side booths, and brought out a stack of red debt slips. The fake manager tore each marked slip in half while the victims watched from the doorway. Cards were returned. Cash envelopes changed hands. One older woman took her driver's license back and shoved the predator's chair with both hands. He had built his status by trapping people one at a time. I made him lose them in a room full of witnesses. Maris picked up the black access chip and pressed it into my bloody palm. One favor, Maris told me. Any door carrying this crest opens once. I closed my fingers around it. One door feels stingy. Maris released my hand. His share pays the red slips. My debt is separate, I told her. Keep the debt useful. Maris glanced at the predator pinned beneath me. Take your family home, boss. His face is lowering the property value. The fake manager bowed his head. Lena and Sadie stared at me like the basement driver had been replaced while they blinked. The main doors opened behind us. Hannah entered with the security team that had followed the casino's location pin. The room had already changed sides. She saw her sisters standing free. Then she saw my blood, Maris's hand around mine, and the black access chip between our palms. Hannah stopped 3 steps inside. Lena rushed her first. We're fine, Sadie added. Nico bet every dollar he had. Lena pointed at the predator. Then he folded the casino. Hannah hugged both sisters and checked their wrists. Sadie handed the stolen settlement card back without being asked. Hannah gave the twins to her security chief. Then she walked straight to me. Maris still held the edge of the access chip. Hannah took the clean claw from her other hand and pressed it against my forearm herself. Who are you? Hannah asked. Maris released the chip. Maris Delaney, your driver protected my name after he protected your sisters. Hannah tightened the cloth 1 degree past necessary. I looked at her. That feels personal. Hannah kept pressure on the wound. You're bleeding in a casino beside a woman calling you boss, I said. Those facts developed quickly. Maris smiled at Hannah. He kept the money too. I checked. Hannah's eyes moved to me. You risked $3.2 million? I said. I won. Hannah pressed harder. That was not the question. Lena whispered to Sadie. She's furious. Sadie whispered back. She's jealous. Hannah heard both. The cloth tightened again. The clinic doctor who had saved my life called before she could decide whether to strangle me with it. I answered on speaker because my good hand was occupied. His rough voice came through beneath the sound of furniture dragging. Men arrived at the clinic, the doctor told me. Somebody bought the debt after midnight. They're taking the piano and locking the supply room at 9 tomorrow. Hannah looked at Maris. Maris shook her head once. That order didn't come through me. Maris's black chip pressed into my palm while furniture scraped over the doctor's speaker. Somebody had bought the clinic's debt before my forearm stopped bleeding. I could not prove Alec ordered it yet. He was the only enemy I knew with that money and timing. By 9 the next morning, 2 repo workers had the clinic piano halfway through the front door. Dr. Reuben Boone was the rough free clinic doctor who stitched my face together 3 years earlier. He sat on the piano bench and refused to lift his feet. Reuben had also installed the artificial eye now arguing inside my skull. At that moment, he was cleaning a child's scraped knuckle while grown men tried moving him with the piano. One worker tugged the dolly. Doctor, the debt changed hands. We've got an order to clear the supply room and remove the piano. Reuben wrapped the child's hand. Pull harder. I've been wanting to test your back. The worker let go. Hannah entered behind me with Lena and Sadie carrying medicine boxes. The twins had volunteered before anyone asked. After the casino, neither complained about the wait. A fresh chain hung across the supply room doors. The notice demanded the overdue balance by 9 the next morning. Miss it, and the clinic lost the room, the piano, and every donated item stored behind that chain. I opened my bank app. The balance doubled in my blurred vision. Reuben slapped the phone down with a folded towel. No. Hannah looked at him. He can cover the balance. Reuben glanced at the bandage on my forearm, then at my artificial eye. He has one working eye on a countdown and a billionaire buying trouble by the truckload. I lifted the phone again. You saved my life. Reuben tore the payment authorization in half. I didn't save you so you could become this clinic's emergency wallet. The repo worker tried the dolly again. Reuben planted one boot against the floor and kept treating the child. The piano did not move, Lena whispered. I like him. Sadie set down her box. You like anybody who fights furniture. The child with the bandaged hand pointed at me. Can the eye make money again? Nine's voice returned weakly. System availability, limited, full shutdown likely after one high-load task. Reuben heard only my silence. He opened the piano bench and removed one chipped ivory key. You used to tap this after surgery, Reuben told me. 3 notes, same pattern all night. I took the key. After the wreck, pain had kept me awake for days. Reuben had put the old clinic piano beside my cot because its broken notes were cheaper than sedatives. I propped my phone against the music rack and hit record. Reuben slid the clinic's donation card into the frame. Reuben pointed at the bench. Earn the piano something repeatable. I sat. Several keys stuck. One pedal squealed. The upper register had been abused by children with excellent confidence and no rhythm. I played anyway. The melody began with the 3 notes from my recovery room. Then it moved into the tune I had hummed inside the crushed car. I had used it to keep Hannah awake while fuel ran beneath us. I sang one line I remembered saying through broken glass. "Keep talking, I can still follow your voice." The clinic went quiet. No joke belonged there. A little girl near the pharmacy started humming the second phrase. Ruben closed the treatment room door so the street noise stayed outside. I finished with a line the public recording never kept. "If the lights go dark, stay where I can hear you." The last chord faded. Nine's voice chirped inside my head. "Phone recording cleaned, public upload complete, alias selected, Glasswire." I stopped breathing. I asked, "You uploaded that?" Nine replied, "Correct." I asked, "Without asking?" Nine answered, "Your approval workflow had a 94% chance of cowardice." The main overlay shut down. My artificial eye became dead glass again, and the left side of the room blurred around the edges. Nine left one low-load public data cache alive, then went quiet. Lena checked her phone. A new account called Glasswire had posted the song from my phone over a cropped image of the clinic piano. Nine had linked it to public clips of the anonymous one-eyed man from the hospital and casino. The clip hid my face and left the voice untouched. Sadie refreshed the page. 10,000 plays. Lena grabbed the phone. "It has been 40 seconds, Sadie corrected her. 43. Ruben closed my fingers around the chipped key. "Good, the piano paid rent before you did." Hannah stood in the hallway beyond the pharmacy. She had arrived during the final line and heard enough to stop moving. The pharmacy glass reflected the piano, but a curtain hid the bench. Then a nurse crossed the hall with a cart. By the time Hannah entered the room, Lena's phone was playing the cleaned upload. I had moved away from the bench to help the repo workers lower the piano off the dolly. Hannah looked from the speaker to me. "Where did Glasswire get that line?" Hannah asked. I lifted a medicine box. "The internet is invasive." Hannah watched me carry the box into the chained supply room. She said nothing and kept watching me. The song crossed 1 million plays before lunch. By evening, it had passed 8 million. A music distributor offered an advance against the first royalty cycle. I accepted enough to clear the clinic's immediate balance while keeping ownership of the recording. The repo truck turned around at the curb. The chain came off the supply room. One worker rolled the piano back to its wall. Ruben made him center it twice. The clinic kept the room, the supplies, and the worst-tuned celebrity instrument in the country. The first royalty advance left enough after the debt to replace the broken refrigerator in the medicine room. Ruben refused the new model with the glass door because he claimed children would stare at juice instead of taking medicine. Hannah ordered it anyway. When the delivery crew arrived, Ruben made Hannah help move the old refrigerator herself. She took off her jacket, grabbed one side, and refused every offer from security. I grabbed the other side. Halfway down the hall, Hannah lowered her voice. "Did you ever sing that line before today?" I kept lifting. "You ask dangerous questions around heavy appliances." Hannah did not smile. "I remember somebody telling me to keep talking inside that wreck." The refrigerator caught on the doorframe. I shifted my grip and freed it. Hannah watched my face for the answer. A clinic child ran between us holding a phone. "Glasswire got another 1,000,000. The child broke the stare. Hannah let me carry the refrigerator away without answering. She handed me a wrapped sandwich after we finished. "Extra meat, no speech." I took it. Hannah looked away before I could thank her. Lena and Sadie spent the afternoon fighting over who had discovered Glasswire first. They also made me carry 6 boxes downstairs because my basement room was closest. Lena sat on one box and opened a fan map. "We're finding Glasswire before Hannah does." Sadie created a list of likely studios. "He has to be local. The piano is local." I carried the phone containing the upload password past both of them. "Excellent investigation," I told them. "Try the basement." Lena pointed down the hall. "That is your room," I told her. "Exactly. Search it after you finish these boxes." They groaned and kept working. 9 remained offline, so I enjoyed the joke alone. I had stripped a casino predator of his share and had a viral song. The twins still treated me like unpaid storage labor. They pointed at the last 2 boxes. I carried those too. Ruben handed me a bowl heavy with meat and vegetables. "Eat before the implant drops you again." I finished it standing. Then I looked at the phones ringing across the clinic. A small label had already offered to buy the master. Reporters wanted a face. Fans wanted a place to gather. I wanted that audience inside something I owned. So I went to see the only friend I trusted before the money. Glenn Dorsey ran a cramped phone repair shop beside a laundromat. He had known me when I wore an eye patch, missed rent, and lied about being fine. He had never enjoyed it. Glenn sat behind a counter soldering 2 cracked phones while a reseller waited with a contract beside his elbow. A rough community board ran across 6 repaired screens behind him. Repair customers answered 3 voluntary questions, then matched with rides, clinic shifts, or people who needed the same fix. 2 laundromat customers were already using it. A clinic volunteer had found a driver before I reached the counter. Then Glasswire fans traced the shop and the board crashed. Glenn rerouted the traffic through his display phones without looking up from the soldering iron. "You finally learned to duck?" Glenn asked. "I learned the casino had expensive glass." Glenn nodded. "Progress!" The Glasswire song played from every phone he had just brought back online. I tapped the 3-note recovery pattern against the counter with the chipped piano key. Glenn answered the 4th note with his screwdriver before he looked up. His soldering iron stopped. Glenn looked at the key, then at me. "You finished the Rex song." Glenn stopped smiling. A local reporter entered with a camera operator before Glenn could ask the obvious question. The clinic wall in the upload had been easy to identify, and somebody had seen me leave for Glenn's shop. The reporter raised a microphone. "Nico Barrett, are you Glasswire?" The reseller glanced from me to the song playing on 12 screens. Glenn had a valuable repair route deal waiting for his signature. He needed the money. I knew because the contract showed a 6-figure sale on the front page. The reseller leaned toward him. "Confirm the singer, and we close today. The publicity belongs in the deal." Glenn put the soldering iron down. Glenn faced the camera. "Nico's the courier Glasswire uses for devices and files. They're 2 different people," the reporter pressed. "Have you met Glasswire?" Glenn kept his eyes on the lens. "No." The reseller closed the contract. "You hit a celebrity relationship during diligence," the reseller snapped. "The offer is withdrawn." He left with the deal Glenn had spent 2 years building. Glenn waited until the camera crew followed him outside. Then Glenn looked at me. "You owe me a company," I told him. "I came to offer one." Glenn laughed once. "That is either excellent timing or a medical event." The rough board behind him had survived real users and 1 celebrity traffic spike. Glenn had the product. I had 8 million listeners. We called the platform Mosaic. I funded the launch. Glenn took the public chief executive role and real operating authority. I also gave him a founding stake large enough to argue with me without asking permission. Glenn read the number once. "You trust me with this much?" I told him. "You just lost 6 figures to protect 1 secret." Glenn slid the page back. "Then I'm changing 1 term." He increased the employee pool and reduced his own cash salary. The company did not exist yet, and he was already spending less on himself than I offered. Glenn held out his hand. "I run the company. You don't appear during meetings wearing blood," said. "I can promise half of that." Glenn nodded. "Terrible founder," I answered. "Excellent owner." We needed a headquarters before the audience scattered. An abandoned radio station building sat for sale across town. It had old studios, a rooftop tower, and enough wiring to make Glenn visibly emotional. The seller looked at my courier jacket and asked whether the actual buyer was coming. I opened the purchase balance. He saw the money and raised the price. Nine's last public data cache flickered once inside my dead eye. "Seller lien expires in 42 minutes, Nine's voice whispered. "Failure transfers the building to the lender." I looked at the seller. "Your lien expires before dinner. Use the listed price, or explain to the lender why my jacket scared you away from cash." His new price vanished. I bought the building at the original number. The seller handed Glenn the master keys. Glenn handed me the black metal founder key. Nine gave one final chirp. "Asset acquired. System shutdown complete." Then the voice went fully silent. Glenn led me downstairs. The founder's suite was in the basement. I stared at him. Glenn shrugged. "Brand consistency." The rooftop sign flickered on after sunset. Mosaic appeared above the old radio tower in white letters. Below it, clinic volunteers, repair workers, and 6 new employees carried furniture through the lobby. Ruben kept his piano. Glenn had a company. I had property large enough for the twins to assign me a better basement. Alec Granger called before the rooftop sign finished warming. His name had been printed on the casino order. Maris burned. His calm voice made the threat worse. "I will pay $300 million for Mosaic before launch," Alec told me. "You keep Glasswire. I take the platform." I looked through the studio glass at Glenn taping schedules to the wall. I said, "No." Alec paused. "You should ask what happens after you refuse." I answered, "I already saw what happens. You buy clinic debts and hire men who lose their own floors." His voice cooled. "Payment companies dislike risk. Clinics dislike missed shipments. Employees dislike unpaid rent." I asked, "Anything else?" Alec checked the time. "Midnight. After that, your audience becomes an expense." I ended the call. Glenn refreshed the first launch payment screen. 1 incoming payment failed. The next 5 turned red. Mosaic gained 8 million users on launch day. Our payroll account still read 0. Every payment route had frozen after I refused Alec Granger. The day began better. Our launch promise was simple. The first verified scholarship winner got paid before we asked anyone to trust the platform. At 9 that morning, a scholarship student stood beneath the old radio tower with her mother and checked her tuition account live. The deposit had arrived. She covered her mouth. Her mother hugged her so hard the phone nearly hit the floor. Thousands of people watching the launch had called the scholarship fake. The student turned the screen toward the camera and showed the paid balance. Mosaic crossed its first million users before she finished crying. Mosaic asked users 3 voluntary questions, then let them choose communities built around what they shared. One local renters group compared its charges inside Mosaic. 86 people had received the same fake repair bill from the same wealthy housing operator. The scholarship student belonged to that group, so did our junior developer. Her landlord had already threatened to change her lock if she joined the stream. She joined anyway. By noon, she and several tenants walked into the operator's luxury open house holding identical red envelopes. The housing operator tried throwing them out in front of his investors. He made the mistake of calling every tenant a liar on a live Mosaic stream. Then his own building manager placed a ring of master keys on the sales table. The inspections were copied, the manager told the investors. He ordered us to reuse the same damaged photos. The tenants opened their envelopes together. The investors saw the same pictures, the same charges, and different apartment numbers. The housing operator grabbed the scholarship student's phone, then pointed at our junior developer. "You work for that fake app?" he snapped. "Your lock changes before your payroll clears." He ordered security to clear the room. Nobody obeyed. The building manager took the phone back and placed it in the student's hand. He left the master keys on the sales table and walked toward the exit. The investors followed him. One tenant ripped the fake repair charge in half and dropped it into the operator's champagne bucket. The others copied her until red paper covered his polished floor. His launch party became a refund line before he finished threatening lawsuits. He should have stopped at greed. He added a live stream and became content. The scholarship student's stream showed her paid tuition above a floor covered in fake charges. That clip pushed the platform past 8 million users. Every incoming payment turned red within 60 seconds of the open house stream ending. Membership fees stalled. Advertiser money stalled. The clinic's next supply shipment stopped at a warehouse gate. Then 40 employee payroll transfers failed. Nobody spoke. One junior developer checked a rent reminder and sat down on the floor. A support worker received a message saying her landlord would change the lock after midnight. Ruben called from the clinic while the room watched me. Behind his voice, the supply truck idled at the curb. "The driver says the distributor froze our account," Ruben told me. "The children have 7 days of stock. After that, the shelves become decoration." 9 remained dark inside my eye. The system gave me nothing, so I had to solve the freeze with people and assets. A senior engineer pointed at the acquisition offer on Glenn's desk. "Sell. Take the 300 million, we can build another product later." A support worker faced him. "With whose audience?" "He brought the people," the engineer snapped. "People don't pay my rent?" A second failed payroll alert sounded before I could answer. Glenn stood beside the red screen with both hands flat on the desk. "You refused 300 million, one employee told me. "Did you mention the part where we get evicted for it?" I had a clever answer. I kept it inside my mouth where it belonged. Alec entered through the front lobby before noon. He was the biotech investor named on Maris's burned order. He wore a dark suit, brought 2 assistants, and looked at the unfinished radio station like he had already priced the walls. Glenn stepped into his path. "Visitor sign in." Alec handed him the same $300 million offer. "Your repairman can keep the pen," Alec told me. "He will need something to remember the company." Glenn read the first page and placed it in a trash bin. Alec smiled. 40 employees trusted a courier and a man who fixes cracked screens. That is almost touching. He looked at the tenant stream still paused on one monitor. "You also cost me a housing acquisition." He tapped his phone. The frozen payment total appeared on our wall display. "Signed before noon," Alec told me. "Payroll clears. The clinic truck moves. Your people go home believing you protected them." I asked. "And Mosaic?" Alec spread one hand. "It becomes useful," I said, "to you." Alec looked past the workers as if they came with the furniture. "Everything becomes useful to whoever owns it." I pushed the offer deeper into the trash. I said, "No." Alec turned toward the employees. "Your founder chose his pride over your rent." "He hasn't been announced as founder," Glenn snapped. Alec looked at him. "Then he chose your rent while hiding behind you. Better?" Several employees walked away from the launch floor. One took her laptop. I watched the empty desk she left behind. Alec waited for me to change my answer. I held his stare. Alec checked the clock. "Midnight will be expensive." I stepped closer. "You paid a casino to cut out my eye. Now you're threatening rent because I said no. Stop calling this business." His smile thinned. "You think the casino was an attack? It was an appraisal." Appraisal meant he wanted a price on more than Mosaic. Before I could press him, Alec left with the clinic shipment still frozen. The door closed. The employees looked at me instead of the screen. Glenn opened his personal banking app. Before I could stop him, he transferred his savings to the 6 lowest paid workers. The junior developer's rent alert disappeared first. I caught Glenn's wrist. "What are you doing?" Glenn answered. "Paying for your mouth until it learns revenue." Told him, "You needed that money." Glenn pulled his wrist free. So did they. His balance dropped close to zero. I released his wrist. "I'm fixing this." Glenn looked at the red screen. "Do it before somebody else fixes their life by leaving." A small record label had been bidding on the original Glasswire master since the clinic upload went viral. I called them. The label representative heard the failed payroll alarms through the speaker and lowered the offer before I finished my first sentence. "Your processors are frozen," the representative told me. "You need us more than we need one song." Glenn reached for the phone. I stopped him. The representative named a price far below what the recording would become. I played 10 seconds of the unfinished second song into the receiver. The representative stopped talking. "You're buying the first master," I told him. "Glasswire keeps making music. Price the recording." He raised the offer enough to cover every failed transfer. I accepted before pride could cost somebody else's rent. The label bought the master recording and paid through a bank Alec did not control. The money covered payroll, replaced Glenn's savings, and released 1 week of clinic supplies. The recording belonged to them after that. I kept the Glasswire name and could record again. The payroll screen turned green across all 40 names. The junior developer stood, walked to Glenn, and returned the emergency transfer from her phone. "Payroll hit. Keep your savings this time." Glenn looked at me. "You hear that?" I answered. "I hear an employee with better financial discipline than both founders." Some employees cheered, others simply sat back down. 3 desks stayed empty. I counted all 3. Mosaic remained online. 8 million users kept their accounts active while every payment route around us stayed frozen. Alec froze the money. 8 million people stayed. Hannah arrived that evening carrying the clinic's revised event permit. The building's main studio was dark, so she followed music down the hallway. I was inside the smallest recording room practicing a second song on an old keyboard. 9 remained offline. I needed a performance I could deliver without help. Hannah stopped outside the glass. "I sang the bridge once. Keep talking, I can still follow your voice." The original lyric sheet lay beside my hand. The chipped piano key held it flat. Hannah entered and picked up the page. The final handwritten line read, "If the lights go dark, stay where I can hear you." Her face changed before she spoke. Hannah said, "You're Glasswire." I leaned back from the keyboard. I hoped the reveal would include better lighting. Hannah held up the lyric. "You said these words inside the wreck," I told her. "I needed you awake." Hannah lowered the page. "You let me search for the singer while you drove me around." I answered. "You were suspicious of the driver, it seemed efficient." Hannah stared until I stopped smiling. Hannah folded the lyric once. "You trusted Glenn," I said. "He knew me before anybody wanted something." Her fingers tightened around the fold. My phone rang on the keyboard. Cyrus Vane, Hannah's brother-in-law and Whitaker Biomed's chief operating officer, filled the screen. Hannah answered before I could. Cyrus spoke through the room speaker. "The Arena campaign needs Glasswire's endorsement. Your driver claims he can reach the singer." Hannah looked directly at me. Then she lied for me. "Nico has never met Glasswire," Hannah told him. "Stop using my driver to cover your bad booking." Cyrus snapped, "Put him on." Hannah ended the call. Hannah set my phone down. "I've lied to my family once for you." I said, "I appreciate quality work." Hannah slid the lyric beneath her palm. "Don't make me regret it." Her hand stayed over my phone after the call ended. Lena's voice exploded from the hallway. 60 seconds until we reveal Glasswire." Sadie followed with a phone on the stabilizer. Their unauthorized livestream showed the radio station corridor, the studio door, and several thousand viewers already counting down. They had traced the song to the building. They had not traced it to me yet. Hannah moved faster than both of them. She stepped in front of the glass, took the phone from Sadie, and aimed the camera at herself. "There will be no face reveal," Hannah told the stream. Lena protested. "We're protecting the fans." Hannah blocked the lens. "You're invading a private studio." Sadie looked past Hannah at me beside the keyboard. "Why is Nico in there?" Hannah blocked more of the window. "Because he works here tonight." The live comments began asking why Hannah Whitaker looked ready to fight 2 teenagers over an anonymous singer. Mosaic traffic jumped again. Hannah noticed the counter and shut off the stream. Lena whispered, "That looked possessive." Sadie nodded. "Very." Hannah handed the dead phone back. "You're both carrying battery packs at the clinic event?" Their fan investigation had become unpaid labor. They complained and carried the battery packs. Glenn entered with a tablet and played the new charity advertisement on the studio wall. Cyrus stood inside a 20,000-seat arena beside a masked performer. The singer opened his mouth. My exact recorded voice came out. The public notes were perfect. The breathing was perfect. Even the small break before the chorus sounded like me. Hannah looked at the lyric sheet in her hand. Hannah said, "They copied your voice." The advertisement promised Glasswire at Alex Arena in 48 hours. It also announced that Whitaker Biomed would divert its major charity partners away from Hannah's clinic event. Her event had been pushed out of its rented hall. 40 clinic children now had a parking lot, a folding stage, and whatever supplies we could carry ourselves. Glenn checked the frozen accounts. "We can't outspend them." I listened to the fake singer finish my song. I said, "We don't need their stage." Hannah asked, "What do we need?" I told her, "A reason for the crowd to leave it." Alec had the arena, Cyrus had my stolen voice, and I had 40 kids waiting in a parking lot. The next time the city heard Glasswire, one of us was going to lose a fortune in public. 48 hours before the 2 charity stages opened, Whitaker Biomed held one dinner to decide which event received its $80 million campaign. Cyrus Vane took my driver badge at the door and sent me toward catering. 20 minutes later, Maris Delaney moved the highest seat in the room to me and made Alec Granger stand. The night improved. The dinner took place inside Whitaker Biomed's executive hall. Hannah's clinic shipment sat in a locked truck outside while donors ate beneath banners for Alex Arena. The fake Glasswire watched from every screen. My copied voice thanked Alec for putting children before ego. He had stolen my voice and given it corporate manners. Disgusting upgrade. Cyrus, Hannah's brother-in-law and the company's chief operating officer, caught my badge between 2 fingers. "Drivers use the service entrance," Cyrus told me. "Donors use the front." Hannah reached for the badge. "He came with me." Cyrus pulled it away. "Then he can wait with your folding chairs." A banquet worker approached with a silver tray. Cyrus took it from her and pushed it against my chest. "Make yourself useful," Cyrus told me. "Carry the drinks." Hannah caught the tray before it tipped. "He is my guest," Alec called from the head table. "Let him carry it. Honest work may calm him." The room watched to see whether I would refuse. I took the tray. Then I walked straight to Alec and offered him the smallest glass. He accepted without looking at me. "See? The arrangement works." I kept the full bottle. Perfectly. Through the glass doors, the clinic supply truck started reversing from the loading lane. One of Cyrus's assistants held the dispatch phone. The driver had been ordered back to the warehouse until Edgar chose a campaign. 40 children had 1 week of supplies. Cyrus had parked that week beside the dessert table and called it strategy. I took the badge from his hand. Cyrus blocked the main aisle. "You don't have a seat." I clipped the badge back onto my jacket. "You keep confusing furniture with permission." Alec Granger heard me from the head table. The biotech investor who froze Mosaic sat beside Edgar Whitaker, Hannah's father, and Whitaker Biomed's chairman. Alec had taken the chair at Edgar's right, even though Maris's place card marked it. Alec's own card waited at the next chair. He smiled as if Edgar's decision already belonged to him. A ticket promoter occupied the chair beyond his. He ran the arena event and had spent the afternoon bragging that every bus, stagehand, and ticket gate answered to him. Before 9 went fully dark, its last cache had flagged one mismatch in the promoter's public staffing portal. The punishment fees matched, but the pay rates did not. Glenn had asked the workers to compare the contracts inside Mosaic. The promoter lifted his glass toward me. "The parking lot event needs drivers. Let him carry water." Alec looked at Hannah. "Your clinic can still receive supplies tonight." Hannah stayed standing beside me. "State the price." Alec opened a campaign folder. "End the driver contract, sever Mosaic from Glasswire, and shut down this rebellion." He turned one page. "You endorse the arena. I restore the shipment and place you over Whitaker Biomed's charity division." Edgar's hand tightened around his water glass. Cyrus smiled again. "One sensible choice fixes everything." Hannah looked through the glass at the truck leaving. Alec waited for helplessness to do his speaking. I had watched that trick at the hospital. Rich men loved calling a leash an opportunity. I stepped toward the empty wall behind Hannah. Cyrus pointed toward the service door. "Your opinion is not on the agenda," I told him. "Your stolen singer missed the agenda. He keeps appearing anyway." The promoter laughed. "Glasswire signed with us." I told him, "Then ask him one private question." The promoter spread both hands. "The city bought 20,000 seats. Nobody cares about a driver's questions." He had time to stop there. Naturally, he kept digging. The promoter tapped the campaign folder. "My workers cannot leave. My buses cannot move without me. Hannah's parking lot will be empty before the first song." The executive doors opened behind him. Maris Delaney entered alone. The public knew Maris as a family office heiress who funded hospitals. I knew she secretly controlled the casino floor where Alec had tried buying my eye. Cyrus hurried forward. "Maris, your seat is beside Mr. Whitaker." Maris looked past him and found me standing near the service door. Then she looked at the driver badge on my chest, her mouth curved. Alec rose halfway. We were waiting for you. Maris walked to the head table and lifted her own place card from Edgar's right side. She carried it across the room and pressed it into my hand. This seat belongs to me, Maris told the room. Tonight, it follows my debt. She turned, caught my sleeve, and walked me back to the head table. Alec remained beside her chair. Maris pulled it out for me. Sit, boss. Every server stopped pretending not to listen. I sat at Edgar's right hand. The silver tray still rested in my other hand. I set the full bottle beside my plate, then reached across and took Alec's tiny glass back. Service is over, I told him. Maris picked up Alec's place card from the next chair. She placed it on a standing cocktail table behind him, then took his seat. Alec stayed standing. The room understood the insult before Cyrus did. Cyrus grabbed the back of my chair. This is a Whitaker event. Hannah caught his wrist before he moved me. Touch him again, Hannah told Cyrus, and I remove your hand from every schedule I control. Cyrus stared at her fingers around his wrist. Hannah kept her grip until Cyrus stepped back. Her father watched. Alec stopped smiling. Edgar picked up the driver badge I had removed while sitting. He read it twice, then looked at the chair beside him. Explain this relationship, Edgar told me. I placed the badge beneath my water glass. It makes a good coaster. Maris noticed the black access chip in my palm. The casino crest caught the table light. You still haven't used my door, Maris told me. I answered. I've been saving it for something expensive. Alec's eyes fixed on the chip. Alec's gaze moved from the chip to Maris. His smile lost another degree. Hannah's hand remained on my chair. Maris glanced at it. Relax. I lent him the seat. You are guarding the man. Hannah removed her hand very slowly. I am guarding my campaign. Maris smiled. Good. I respect a woman who picks the harder asset. Hannah's stare could have peeled paint. Maris enjoyed it for one smile, then turned back to Alec. The promoter slapped the campaign folder shut. This seating stunt changes nothing. The arena owns the buses, the crew, and the ticket network. My phone buzzed once beneath the table. Glenn's message filled the screen. Buses turning. Crew keys coming inside. I looked at the promoter's phone. It had rung 4 times since Maris entered. Answer it, I told him. I don't take orders from hired help, the promoter snapped. I lifted my water glass from the driver badge. You just watched hired help take your best seat. Update faster? Alec ordered him to use speaker. The operations lead's strained voice came through. The drivers walked. Stage crews too. They compared the contracts through Mosaic. The promoter stood. They signed penalty clauses. You gave every worker the same illegal fine and 3 different pay rates, the operations lead told him. Then you fired the first 10, the rest left together. Headlights moved beyond the executive windows. 3 black arena buses reversed past the dining hall. Their route boards still carried Alec's event name. Their drivers turned them toward the public street instead. The executive doors opened again. Stagehands rolled 2 speaker cases and a lighting rack straight through the banquet. One worker dropped the arena master keys onto the promoter's dinner plate. I worked 6 setup nights, she told him. You paid me for 2. Another stagehand hung one lanyard over the full bottle beside my plate, then pushed the equipment toward the loading dock. The promoter grabbed a speaker case handle. 4 workers kept rolling and dragged him 3 steps before he let go. He had called them replaceable in a room full of workers. Now his $80 million event was leaving through the dining room. Alec took the campaign folder from him. You are finished here. The promoter reached for it. Alec let the folder fall past his hand. The last equipment case rolled through the doors. The promoter followed it alone. Beautiful collapse. Much better than a phone call. Alec faced me across the table. Mosaic coordinated a labor attack, I answered. Your promoter coordinated it. Mosaic let the workers compare notes. Alec's jaw hardened. I will replace the buses by morning. Buy more, I told him. The first group learned to read. The room laughed before checking whether Alec allowed it. He did not. Hannah picked up the arena endorsement page. Alec lowered his voice. Sign it. The clinic truck turns around. Your father keeps the campaign. You keep your title. Hannah tore her name from the page. She placed the strip beside Edgar. My event stays with the clinic, Hannah told him. Nico stays with me. Keep the title if it comes with Alec's leash. The truck outside had nearly reached the outer gate. Edgar took the dispatch phone from Cyrus's assistant. Turn it around, Edgar ordered. Through the glass, the brake lights flashed. The clinic truck stopped, reversed, and returned to the loading lane. Staff at the windows began asking Hannah where the shipment should go. Nobody asked Cyrus. Alec had offered her a division. She took command of the room instead. Cyrus moved toward me again. Hannah stepped between us before he crossed one chair. Cyrus snapped. You are throwing away the family for a driver, Hannah answered. You diverted medicine to punish him. Stop using the word family. Cyrus's face emptied. Edgar looked at his daughter, then at the reverse truck. The clinic receives Whitaker Biomed's backing, Edgar told the room. Alec had lost the campaign choice. Cyrus had lost Hannah's obedience. My driver badge stayed beneath the highest glass. Then an alarm sounded beneath the floor. Edgar stood so fast his chair struck the wall. His phone showed one line from Whitaker Biomed's abandoned artificial eye program. Project 9 vault open. My implant came from Project 9. Edgar looked at my right eye. The vault should have stayed sealed. We ran one floor down. The vault door stood open. A snapped copy of Cyrus's executive badge remained jammed inside the reader. Hannah lifted the broken badge. Its stripe matched the cloned credential she had taken from the office thief. Cyrus stared at it. He planted that. I looked at him. You have used that sentence before? Inside the vault, a silver case sat open and empty. Its foam held the shape of a small voice module. A service tag beneath it listed the free clinic where my eye had been installed as the last field implant site. Edgar read the service label. The module rebuilds a voice from clean recordings. Project 9 used it for patients who lost speech. Alec reached the vault behind us. His expression stayed calm for 1 second too long. Then Cyrus's phone played a rehearsal from his pocket. The masked singer spoke in my exact voice. Tell me how real I sound. Cyrus looked at me while the stolen voice laughed through his phone. 2 stages opened at 8 the next night. The fake had my voice, a stolen Project 9 module, and an arena full of people ready to believe him. The fake Glasswire had 20,000 seats, my stolen voice, and an $80 million campaign. I had a clinic parking lot, 40 children, and no working system. Both stages opened at 8. They stood 2 miles apart. At 7:20, Alec's arena already glowed across the skyline. Hannah's event had folding chairs, 1 battered piano, and a painted bedsheet tied behind the smallest stage. The clinic supply target remained red on a screen beside the pharmacy window. A black arena bus turned into the lot before the first guest arrived. An event coordinator stepped down with 40 silver wristbands and 1 release form. Alec would seat the clinic children inside the arena if Hannah signed away her event and let his campaign claim every donation. Hannah read the first page. Where are the wheelchair seats? The coordinator pointed toward the bus cargo door. The children can enter after premium donors are seated. A boy beside the clinic ramp heard him. His hands tightened around the wheels of his chair. Hannah tore the release down the middle. The bus leaves empty, Hannah told the coordinator. The children stay where they are guests. The coordinator looked at the dark parking lot. You have 40 empty chairs. Hannah handed him the 2 halves. Then Alec can watch us fill them. The bus backed out. Every child saw it leave without them. Hannah rolled the boy in the wheelchair into the front row herself. Lena and Sadie, Hannah's younger sisters, arrived carrying silver arena wristbands the arena had sent them. Lena stared toward the distant lights. Glasswire is performing over there. Sadie held 2 battery packs against her chest. Hannah needs us here. Lena looked offended by the moral clarity. Then she dropped both wristbands into the clinic donation jar. Sadie added hers, shoved the jar toward the children, and said, We're staying. The silver bands landed on top of crumpled clinic bills. Dr. Reuben Boone, the clinic doctor who installed my artificial eye, taped cables across the parking lot and insulted every knot. He also kept the old treatment room wall locked and chased 2 volunteers away from its metal seam. Mosaic's crew parked 2 battery vans behind the building. After the payroll freeze, nobody trusted one power source. A private security team guarded the children. Hannah had ordered them to ignore the singer. She moved through the parking lot with a clipboard and redirected chairs. 3 donors wanted their logos above the clinic name. Hannah refused all 3. At 7:45, a little clinic girl found Reuben beside the piano. She had hummed during the first Glasswire recording and heard the private final line before 9 removed it from the upload. The girl held a folded question card. What does the last line mean? Reuben glanced toward me, then kept my name out of it. Asked the singer who he was trying to hear, Reuben told her. He wrote that line for 1 person. The girl nodded and gripped the card. Good, now the question had teeth. Alec's arena broadcast filled a projector screen on the clinic wall. The masked singer walked beneath white lights at exactly 8. He opened with my first song. Every note landed. He copied the breath before the bridge. He copied the crack in the chorus. The stolen Project 9 voice module had rebuilt my mistakes along with my voice. The arena stood for him. Lena stared at the screen. That has to be Glasswire. Sadie looked at me near the sound table. Hannah keeps watching Nico. Hannah heard her and moved between us. The fake singer finished to a wall of noise. For 1 ugly minute, Alec's fraud worked. His audience believed the voice. Donors lifted pledge cards. The arena supply counter climbed while our clinic target stayed red. Alec stepped beside the masked singer. Alec raised our camera feed on the arena screens. Let us hear from the children Hannah left in a parking lot. Our little projector camera turned toward the girl with the folded card. A reporter held the microphone for her. The girl looked at the fake singer on screen. Who were you trying to hear when the lights went dark? The arena quieted. The fake singer tilted his mask. I was speaking to everyone who ever felt alone. Alec began clapping beside him. Several donors followed because expensive rooms train people quickly. The girl checked her card. Ruben folded his arms. The girl tried again. You sang it here before the song went online. Who was the one person? The fake singer had every public recording. The room where I wrote it stayed outside as theft. He glanced toward Alec. Alec's smile remained fixed. The fake singer laughed. Children misremember things. The girl's face fell. That answer cost him the room. A few arena guests lowered their pledge cards. The fake singer made it worse. The line was removed because it was weak, he told her. Ask a real question. The reporter holding the microphone lowered it from the child's mouth. Then she changed her mind and gave it back. The girl looked at the arena screen. A real singer would remember who he was saving. Several people near Alec stopped clapping. One donor folded his pledge card and slipped it inside his jacket. Ruben stepped beside the girl. His voice stayed flat. She asked one. You failed it. The arena audience heard him. Alec cut our remote feed. The clinic projector went black, but every phone in the parking lot kept the arena stream alive. The fake singer started another song too quickly. People in the front rows stayed seated. People behind them began checking the clinic stream inside Mosaic. I picked up the chipped piano key and headed for the loading dock behind the small stage. Hannah caught me behind the stage curtain. She had the private lyric sheet folded inside her clipboard. You step onto that dock, they can trace the voice to this building, Hannah told me. I answered, they already traced the eye here. Hannah blocked the curtain gap. Your face stays hidden. She searched my artificial eye for any sign of 9. The lens stayed dead. Can you perform like this? Hannah asked. I told her, I sold the first master and practiced the second song without help. Hannah held out her hand. Then use mine until the floor stops moving. I took it across the ramp. She released me before either of us could make the moment respectable. I looked through the curtain at the parking lot. 40 children waited beneath borrowed lights. The little girl still held her failed question card. I told Hannah, her answer comes first. Hannah stepped closer and fixed the collar of my black jacket. The city gets the song, Hannah told me. I keep the cameras off you. I smiled. Possessive again. Hannah pulled the curtain open. Driver. I stepped onto the loading dock. Mosaic's crew had placed a small keyboard on the loading dock. 2 floodlights pointed from behind me, turning my body into a dark outline against the clinic wall. The public heard glass wire from a faceless silhouette. Hannah stayed at the side curtain and stopped every reporter who tried crossing it. Below, the crew opened the clinic stream. I pressed the chipped key against the keyboard stand and played the 3-note recovery pattern. The parking lot went quiet. Phones inside Alec's arena began playing the same notes. I sang the first verse without 9, voice correction, or a clean stage. Then I reached the private line. If the lights go dark, stay where I can hear you. I stopped playing. The little clinic girl looked up from the parking lot. I answered her through the microphone. I wrote that after I lost my eye pulling someone from a wreck. The lights were gone. I needed her voice so I could keep her alive. Hannah stood behind the loading bay curtain where the cameras could not see her. Her hand covered her mouth once. Then she lowered it and kept guarding the curtain. The child nodded. She had her answer. Inside the arena, the fake singer kept performing. The public feed showed the first row turn its back on him. One couple stood. Then an entire section followed. Alec walked to the edge of his stage and ordered the doors closed. Arena staff opened them wider. Guests left holding the wristbands Alec had paid for. The first crowd reached the clinic on foot. They had walked 2 miles in formal clothes because a child asked one honest question. A woman in an arena gown gave her front row wristband to the boy in the wheelchair. He wrapped it around one spoke like a trophy. More guests arrived behind her carrying pledge cards Alec had printed. They crossed out the arena name and wrote the clinic above it. The clinic's 40 empty chairs disappeared under people within minutes. Late arrivals stood along the curb and passed bottled water toward the children before taking any themselves. Then the buses came. Alec's black arena buses rolled into our parking lot carrying the audience he had collected. One driver leaned from his window. Passengers chose the destination. The buses unloaded beside Hannah's folding chairs. One arena host tried ordering the passengers back aboard. Nobody turned around. The driver closed the door in his face and joined the line for clinic donations. Alec had paid for transportation. The clinic received the crowd. The supply target on the pharmacy screen climbed. Red became yellow. Then Cyrus arrived behind the clinic. One private guard warned Hannah through the stage radio. The stolen Project 9 voice module had started pulsing beside the service wall. Its maintenance locator had found the old implant cradle behind Ruben's treatment room seam. Cyrus followed the pulse straight to the hidden wall. Hannah latched the clinic side loading door. Finish, she told me. Cyrus pulled the main power disconnect. A security guard caught him beside the service wall. Cyrus struck the guard with the metal voice module case and kept moving. The guard stayed conscious long enough to warn Hannah. The parking lot went black. The projector died. The piano speakers died. The clinic windows vanished. The children kept singing the chorus. They had practiced it all afternoon. Mosaic's crew started the first battery van. Lena connected the left stage cable. Sadie connected the right. The second van rolled beside the first. Lights returned in strips across the parking lot. The children were still singing. The crowd joined them. The arena feed showed empty rows behind the fake singer. He finished to chairs and camera operators. Cyrus had cut our power and improved the performance. He was already cooked. He just had one more terrible decision left. The clinic supply target turned green. A clinic worker removed the red paper covering the supply room window. Children inside began passing unopened medicine boxes toward the shelves. The fundraiser had become inventory before the final note. Donations kept climbing after the goal cleared. I finished the song and lifted the microphone toward Hannah below. This clinic is standing because Hannah Whitaker chose patience when $80 million told her to choose status. Cameras turned toward her. Clinic staff stopped calling the chairman's office. They formed around Hannah with supply lists and delivery keys. Lena stared up at my silhouette. Then she looked at the basement jacket, the chipped key, and Hannah guarding the side curtain. Lena grabbed Sadie's arm. "We made glass wire carry boxes." Sadie looked sick. "He told us to search the basement." Hannah pointed at both of them. "You tell nobody." Lena zipped her lips. Sadie locked her phone and handed it to Hannah. Hannah pocketed both phones. Neither twin asked for hers back. A high tone cut through the cheering. It came from the clinic service hall, where Cyrus had carried the stolen voice module. My artificial eye heated hard enough to drop me against the keyboard. The dead overlay flashed one line: "Unauthorized Project 9, sync." 9's voice stayed silent. My remaining sight disappeared. The crowd became sound. The loading dock edge vanished beneath my shoes. I kept singing the final chorus because the children gave me something to follow. One voice, then 40, then thousands below. I moved toward the loading bay door by sound. My foot missed the edge of the ramp. Hannah caught my jacket with both hands and dragged me against the loading rail. "Nico, look at me," I said. "I can't." Her grip changed. A crash came from the clinic's old treatment room. Ruben shouted once. By the time Hannah guided me inside, Cyrus had escaped through the service hall. The hidden cabinet behind Ruben's treatment wall stood open. Its inner cradle was empty. Ruben held one hand against his ribs and stared at the missing space. "He took the Project 9 core," Ruben told me. His voice cracked on the word core. I asked, "What does it do?" Ruben answered fast. 10% survive activation. A survivor gets about 10 minutes of strength before the core destroys his heart. The clinic wall exploded inward before he finished breathing. The clinic wall exploded before Ruben finished saying 10%. Cyrus Vane stepped through the dust with the Project 9 core locked across his chest. A red timer on the core read 9 minutes and 58 seconds. He had bought 10 minutes of strength. I had zero sight. Cyrus's suit had split across both shoulders. The stolen core pulsed beneath a clear plate over his sternum. Each pulse hit the room with a low metal click. 2 hired guards entered behind him and sealed the service doors. Cyrus looked past the children and found me beside Hannah. "Give me the eye," Cyrus told me. "I leave the clinic standing." Ruben moved between us. Cyrus backhanded him across the room. Ruben struck the old piano hard enough to break the bench. The chipped instrument rolled sideways and crushed 3 folding chairs. The children went silent. I ran toward the sound. Cyrus crossed the distance first. His forearm caught my ribs and lifted me off the floor. I hit a medicine cabinet, dropped through its doors, and lost the air in my lungs. The core timer reached 9 minutes and 41 seconds. Cyrus laughed. "You needed the machine for everything." I pushed myself up through broken shelves. "You needed one for 10 minutes. He grabbed my jacket and threw me through the pharmacy window. Glass showered the counter. My left shoulder struck tile and stopped moving cleanly. Cyrus had spent days losing control in public. Now every hit landed where the witnesses could see it. Then the oxygen alarm started. The wall breach had cut the clinic's backup line. 3 children used portable machines, and their batteries showed 6 minutes. One oxygen cart rolled toward the broken wall. A clinic boy grabbed its handle and refused to let go because Ruben was still inside. Cyrus kicked the cart aside. The tank struck a pillar and spun across the floor. I caught the boy by his jacket before he followed it. "Find Hannah," I told him. "Keep the machine upright." The boy clutched my sleeve. "What about Dr. Boone?" I told him. "I have him." He let go and ran toward Hannah. The promise gave me another bill to pay. Hannah took command before anyone asked. "Front ramp," Hannah ordered the clinic workers. "Keep the machines upright. Nobody waits for Nico." She lifted one child herself and placed the portable tank across her shoulder. Lena grabbed the front of the chairline. Sadie reached the smoke-filled service corridor and found the security monitor dead. "The release is behind the camera box," Sadie shouted. Sadie recognized the same cheap control box from the prank cameras at the Whitaker estate. Lena climbed onto a cabinet, ripped away the plastic camera cover, and reached for the manual latch. Cyrus's guard stepped toward her. Sadie swung an empty battery case into his knee. The guard caught the wall instead of Lena. Lena pulled the latch. The service corridor opened. Hannah pushed the first children through while the portable battery clocks kept falling. Cyrus heard the door and turned toward them. I threw a metal tray at the core plate. He slapped it away and came back to me. "Good." The children kept moving. Cyrus drove one fist into my stomach. I folded over his arm. He whispered close enough for me to smell burned plastic from the core. "Your position, your money, Hannah, this family, you took all of it by accident." He hurled me into the clinic's safe room door. The reinforced frame bent around my back. Cyrus planted both hands on the door and ripped it from its track. The children behind it screamed and crowded toward the service corridor. He had finally become strong enough to enter any room. Nobody inside wanted him there. I grabbed his sleeve. "You lost all of it on purpose." He slammed me into the floor. The core clicked 6 quick beats, then one hollow beat. I heard the pattern. Cyrus dragged me toward the broken piano. He lifted one foot over the keys. Ruben caught his ankle. Cyrus looked down at the doctor who had saved my life. Then he stomped through the piano lid beside Ruben's hand. Wood split, strings snapped. The recovery instrument that had survived debt collectors and 3 generations of clinic children finally broke under Cyrus's shoe. Ruben still held the ankle. "Leave the children out of your tantrum," Ruben told him. Cyrus kicked him in the chest. Ruben slid beneath the treatment room wall and stopped moving. I heard Hannah call his name from the corridor. The core timer reached 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Cyrus stepped over Ruben and reached for my artificial eye. One of his guards moved between him and a child who had fallen near the door. "Sir, the child first," the guard warned. Cyrus struck the guard into the wall. The second guard lowered his weapon and backed toward the children. I caught his wrist before his fingers reached my face. His grip crushed my hand against the artificial eye socket. Heat flashed through the dead implant. 9 stayed silent. My other hand found a broken metal support from the pharmacy shelf. I drove it against the clear core plate. The support bent around his chest without cracking the plate. Cyrus took the twisted bar from me and folded it once more. "Try again," he told me. He waited for me to try again. I needed him confident enough to repeat the same charge. I drove my forehead into his nose and pulled free. Cyrus barely moved. He smiled through the impact. "That was your answer?" I backed toward the sound of the broken piano. "It was a measurement," Cyrus charged. I heard 6 fast clicks and the hollow 7th. I stepped during the hollow beat. Cyrus adjusted faster than I expected. His elbow caught my jaw and threw me across the treatment room again. My first read had been right. My timing had been late. The floor tilted beneath me. I stayed down long enough to hear the pattern repeat. 6 fast clicks, 1 hollow beat. Ruben coughed near the wall. His hand struck metal behind the broken piano. A hidden panel opened with a mechanical voice. "Dr. Ruben Boone, original project. 9 surgical lead confirmed." Cyrus stopped smiling. Ruben pressed his bloody palm against the panel. Emergency doors opened along the service corridor. Fresh air pushed through the smoke, and Hannah moved the remaining children faster. A clinic worker stared at Ruben beside the glowing panel. "You were part of Project 9? Ruben pointed toward the children. "Move first, be impressed later." The worker stopped staring and obeyed Dr. Boone. The override opened exits for the children. Cyrus stayed untouched. It also gave me one useful sound. The panel matched the core's rhythm with an alarm tone. Ruben forced the words out. "Power drops on the 7th pulse. Half a second, hit the center plate." Cyrus turned toward him. "You built this?" Cyrus demanded. Ruben wiped blood from his mouth. "I built the surgery that kept it from killing the patient." Cyrus lifted Ruben by the collar. I crawled toward the sound. The core timer reached 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Outside, Hannah shouted that the last child had cleared the corridor. That freed me to stop protecting exits. Cyrus threw Ruben aside and faced me again. "You are blind," Cyrus told me. "Stay down and keep one eye." I stood with one shoulder hanging wrong and my ribs grinding every breath. "You diverted medicine from children because I rejected your money," I told him. "You framed me, used your family, stole my voice, and broke the clinic that saved me." Cyrus spread his arms. "And I am still standing." The core clicked beneath his voice. 1, 2, 3. I kept talking. "Your own guards stopped listening." Cyrus took one step. "You are still the same coward under that machine." 5. He charged. 6. The hollow beat came. I turned inside his reach and drove my heel into the center of the Project 9 core. The clear plate shattered. The core folded into Cyrus's chest frame and threw him backward through the wall he had already broken. His timer stopped at 1 minute and 47 seconds. Cyrus hit the pavement outside and stayed there. The clinic window shook. The crowd beyond the barricade watched Cyrus slide through his own breach. He stopped beneath the event banner he had tried stealing. The little girl with the question card saw him first. She held the card against her chest and backed behind Hannah. His 10-minute godhood had a terrible warranty. The voice module in his pocket sparked once and died with the core. I followed the sound outside. Cyrus tried lifting one hand. It shook, dropped, and found nobody willing to help. "Get me up," Cyrus ordered the guards. Both guards stayed still. The guard he had struck removed his earpiece and placed it on Cyrus's chest. The second guard opened the service doors for the last clinic worker. Cyrus gave another order. The room ignored him. Before the fight, he had walked through a wall like a god. After one kick, he could not command 2 men he had paid. Hannah returned from the evacuation line and stood beside me. She looked at Cyrus, then at the shattered clinic, then at Ruben on the floor. Cyrus reached toward her from the pavement. "You need me. Alec will take everything." Hannah stepped over his hand. "You spent years using my family as a shield," Hannah told him. "Now you get to lose without it." She faced the guards. "Cyrus is finished. Keep him away from the children." They obeyed her. Police arrived after the clinic was clear and the core was broken. They closed restraints around Cyrus while he lay on the pavement. He never returned to Whitaker Biomed. I went to Ruben. His breathing had turned shallow. I pressed both hands against his ribs while a clinic worker brought oxygen. The old Project 9 panel still glowed behind the broken piano. I asked, "Original surgical lead?" Ruben looked at the artificial eye he had installed. "I ran the surgeries," Ruben told me. "Alec financed Project 9. He wanted the implants tied to people he could own." Hannah knelt beside us and heard every word. Ruben continued. "When you came to me dying, I stole the safest prototype and put it in you. I lied about its history because anyone who knew would come looking." I held the oxygen mask against his face. "Who built 9? Ruben shook his head once. "The implant arrived sealed. I never met the manufacturer." 9 remained silent. A security guard shouted from the clinic entrance, "Alec's car is leaving the East Drive." I turned toward the sound. Ruben's breathing stopped for 1 second. The car engine rose outside. I pushed one knee under myself. My left shoulder failed and I still turned toward the exit. Ruben's pulse disappeared beneath Hannah's fingers. The engine reached the gate. I could chase Alec blind with one working arm or keep the man who saved me alive. Hannah pressed the oxygen mask into my working hand and turned her back on the gate. I stayed beside Ruben and forced air through the mask until his chest moved again. Alec's car disappeared. Then Hannah's phone rang. She answered on speaker while holding Ruben's pulse. A shaken driver told her Edgar's car had been rammed on the way home. Edgar was unconscious and headed into emergency surgery. Hannah went still. Her Whitaker Biomed badge beeped inside her jacket. The access light turned red. A company worker called next. Hannah's office doors had locked. Men were carrying her desk into the hall. The clinic supply trucks had been ordered back again. A final message arrived from the estate. The front gate codes had changed. Movers were already inside. All 3 alerts carried timestamps inside Cyrus's 10-minute timer. I beat Cyrus. By sunrise, Hannah had no office, no house, and no father standing beside her. I owned a company worth hundreds of millions. Security still made me stand outside Whitaker Biomed blind while 2 movers carried Hannah's desk past my shoulder. Edgar survived surgery. He remained unconscious. A hospital orderly had given Hannah a clear bag holding Edgar's watch and a square signet box. She kept it sealed. Ruben still had a pulse, broken ribs, and a clinic worker beside him. That was the entire medical report I needed. A clinic worker stepped from a rideshare carrying Ruben's torn coat and one bent stethoscope. "He woke for 10 seconds, she told Hannah. "He asked whether every child got out." Hannah answered, "Every child." The worker pressed the coat into my good hand. A fresh notice was folded inside it. Whitaker Biomed's new management planned to close the damaged clinic and clear the property at noon after the ownership announcement. Edgar had been hit. Alec had taken Hannah's office, stopped the trucks, and scheduled Ruben's clinic for removal during the same 10-minute window. He kept choosing my people. I folded the notice into my pocket. "Tell Ruben the children are safe. Tell him the building is busy refusing eviction." The worker nodded and went back inside. 9 stayed silent. My right eye felt like dead glass. My left eye saw nothing. One arm sat in a sling, and every breath hurt my ribs. Hannah's executive badge flashed red against the lobby reader. A clinic supply truck rolled past us toward the highway. The driver lowered his window. New management canceled every future delivery. Hannah stepped in front of the truck. The driver gripped the wheel. "I'm sorry, security will remove me if I unload." Hannah opened the passenger door, took the delivery clipboard, and tore off the return order. "Keep the medicine in the truck," Hannah told him. "Park across the street until I call." The driver looked at the red badge on her chest. Then he looked at the workers watching through the glass. He pulled across the street instead of leaving. Small rebellion, useful timing. A mover brushed my injured shoulder with Hannah's desk. I caught the edge with my good hand. Careful, that desk has already changed owners twice this morning. Alec Granger answered from the lobby. The Project 9 financier sat in Edgar's chair behind the glass doors. Hannah's nameplate lay face down on the desk in front of him. Alec had taken the company during Cyrus's 10-minute attack. Now he had placed Edgar's chair behind glass and waited for Hannah to see it. He lifted Hannah's badge from a tray. Come inside alone. Hannah entered with me beside her. Alec glanced at my sling. I invited the executive. Hannah took the red badge from his fingers. Then speak to one. Alec pushed a new badge across the desk. Its light glowed green. Stand beside me at noon, Alec told her. Tell the press, Nico manipulated you. Denounce Mosaic, end the driver contract, and your title returns. He tapped the clinic truck on a wall camera. The deliveries returned too. Hannah looked at the green badge. Then she clipped her red one onto the front of her desk. Keep the title, Hannah told him. She turned toward the movers. Take the desk to the loading dock. Alec's smile tightened. You are walking away from your father's company. Hannah grabbed one end of the desk herself. You carried it out first. One mover released his side. Alec pointed at him. Pick it up. The mover opened the desk drawer instead. 3 assistants dropped Alec's new green badges and 2 ringing office phones inside it. The mover slammed the drawer shut and pushed Hannah's desk toward the loading dock. Alec had the chair. Hannah had the desk, the phones, and the people who knew where anything was. He called after her. They will come back when payroll stops. I faced his voice. You keep buying rooms and losing everyone inside them. Alec leaned back in Edgar's chair. Your platform cannot move money, your system cannot see, your body can barely stand. He paused long enough to enjoy himself. Today, Nico, you are exactly what you look like. I smiled. That still makes me the man who ruined your arena blind. His hand struck the desk. Good, he still had nerves. At the loading dock, Hannah's desk blocked the lane where workers packed office boxes into cars. One older director waited beside a sedan with 6 sealed cartons and a locked briefcase between his shoes. He controlled the final 6% of Whitaker Biomed. He had voted with Alec before sunrise. Alec still canceled his badge, emptied his office, and sent his driver home. The director had sold Hannah once. Alec rewarded him by treating him like trash. A temporary manager hurried onto the dock with 2 movers. Mr. Granger wants the briefcase. The director put one shoe on it. It is personal property. The manager shoved his foot aside and grabbed the handle. Hannah rolled her desk across the lane and trapped the briefcase against one drawer. Then Alec can ask through me. The manager reached over the desk. I caught his wrist with my good hand and closed the drawer on his sleeve. He looked at my sling. You can barely stand, then stop losing to the furniture. The workers gathered behind Hannah. Some carried office plants, others held tool cases and lunch bags. Nobody moved the director's boxes. Hannah opened one carton. Framed photographs showed the director cutting ribbons beside pediatric equipment. Across the street, the clinic truck still waited with medicine inside. You smiled beside those pumps, Hannah told him. Alec turned the trucks around before your office was empty. The director reached for the frame. Hannah kept it. I protected my retirement, he muttered. A warehouse worker lifted a termination notice. You protected it with ours. The temporary manager tore his sleeve free and lunged for the briefcase again. A mover cart rattled down the dock. Lena stood on the back rail while Sadie steered. They had hijacked the cart carrying Alec's giant press backdrop. Brake, Sadie warned. Lena kicked the release instead. The backdrop slid off, landed across the manager's shoes and blocked the loading lane with Alec's smiling face. He went down beneath his own boss's forehead. Wrong lever, Lena said. Sadie looked at her. You knew which lever. Then excellent lever. The director unlocked his briefcase before the manager could crawl free. An unsigned page sat inside. 6% option. That was my insurance if Alec changed the terms, the director said. Hannah looked at his boxes. He changed them. The control rule took one line. Alec had 49%, Hannah's side had 45%, and this 6 decided the company at noon. The director held the pen. Alec pays immediately. Hannah set his ribbon-cutting photograph on the desk beside the worker's termination notice and the clinic truck key. He already paid you. She turned away. The director grabbed her wrist. Raise the purchase money before noon and you get my 6%. Hannah pulled free and handed him the pen. Write that. He signed on the desk Alec had carried out. The temporary manager crawled from beneath Alec's backdrop and reached for the option. The workers rolled Hannah's desk forward and pinned him against the smiling press wall. The director locked the original inside his briefcase. The option needed a $5 million deposit before midnight. My mosaic stake could cover the purchase, but Alec's freeze kept the cash out of reach. Hannah photographed the signed page. You carry the original to noon, I keep it alive. Alec will come after this, the director warned. He already took your chair, I told him. Stop announcing the weather. The workers laughed. The director did not. He had finally become valuable enough for Alec to chase. I handed Hannah my phone. Call Glenn, tell him to clear the studio, then call Maris's public office. Say I'm collecting the debt she promised. Hannah made both calls while we left through the same front doors Alec had tried using as a stage. Hannah's estate key failed before we reached the main gate. The guard inside recognized her and looked away from the window. Movers carried framed family photographs through the service entrance. Hannah kept her hand on the dead key until the plastic cracked. I heard it. Useful? I asked. Hannah dropped the broken key into my palm. Very. We went to Mosaic's radio station building instead. The founder suite was still in the basement. Naturally, Glenn Dorsey, my pre-money friend and Mosaic's public chief executive, met us halfway down the stairs. He put one hand against my chest. You look like a hospital lost a fight with you. I told him. I won on points. Glenn guided my good hand toward the rail. The core team is upstairs. 12 people left. 23 stayed. I asked. Why? Glenn answered. I told them you would risk your own control before asking them to risk another rent payment. That was either loyalty or blackmail performed by a friend. I respected both. The main studio had turned into a shelter for displaced Whitaker workers. Laptop chargers covered the floor. Clinic supply lists filled one wall. Mosaic's payment screen still glowed red. A senior engineer faced me as I entered. Alec offered cash for our shares this morning. I asked, did you take it? The engineer answered, no. I told her, then you have excellent taste under pressure. The engineer did not smile. Glenn promised you would put something real on the table. I removed the black metal founder key from my pocket and placed it on the table. I own 86% of Mosaic, I told the room. 20% goes up as collateral today. If we fail, I lose it. One employee closed the sale offer on her screen. Another turned his laptop back toward Mosaic's live systems. Glenn looked at me. You should have led with that upstairs. I was busy being furniture. The studio doors opened. Lena and Sadie entered carrying one small box between them. Hannah had recovered their phones after the clinic evacuation, so they were suffering like ordinary citizens. Lena placed the old basement key on the table. The movers missed this, Sadie added. They also packed your clothes into trash bags. I touched the key. Classy family. Lena looked toward Hannah. Do the other thing. Hannah removed Edgar's $5 million settlement card from her bag. The blue mark she had drawn during my first dinner still crossed one corner. She handed it to Lena. Lena pushed the card into my palm. We stole it once. Hannah says this is the official return, Sadie corrected her. Second return. Lena frowned. Nobody enjoys accurate bookkeeping. The card had tested whether money could buy me. Now it could buy the option enough time to survive. I placed it beside Hannah's phone showing the signed option. Hannah's hand covered mine. Use it, I asked. Your father offered this to repay me. Hannah answered. Then make it repay something useful. I authorized the $5 million deposit. Hannah's phone showed the 6% option as active before midnight. The card covered only the deposit. The director still had to carry the original into the atrium. That left the actual purchase money. Hannah sent Lena and Sadie upstairs with the charger box. They left arguing over who had technically returned the card. Maris Delaney arrived through the studio doors while 3 cameras followed her from the street. The public knew Maris as a hospital donor and family office heiress. Hannah knew she owed me. She had never heard Maris admit who controlled the casino. Before Maris reached the table, Alec's processor agent entered with 2 contractors and a red shutdown tag. Frozen reserve, the agent announced. The main transmitter power's down now. One contractor opened the transmitter cage and reached for the cutoff handle. If it dropped, our public valuation stream died with it. Maris unclipped a metal family office key from her bag and locked the control cover before he could pull. The transmitter stays live, Maris told him. Charge the reserve to me. Her advisor called on speaker. 3 public clients had already frozen their accounts. 2 more would leave if she funded a casino-linked debtor and a hostile takeover target. Maris looked at me. 240 million. 20% of Mosaic if you fail at noon. Glenn winced. Sharp knife. He tends to borrow while bleeding, Maris said. Hannah faced her. You accepted Alec's casino order first. I did, Maris answered. Then Nico gave me a better reason to choose. Hannah put one hand on the transmitter cage beside Maris's. Use the key. Keep your hands off my former driver. Maris smiled. Former? Hannah said. Pending review. The contractor looked between them and slowly closed his tool case. Maris told her advisor, Let the clients leave! Cancellation alert sounded before she finished the sentence. She signed one page. I signed beneath her. The transmitter stayed live. The red purchase screen turned green. Alec's processor agent removed the shutdown tag and left under 3 cameras. If we missed noon, Maris took 20% of Mosaic. That was the price. A wall screen cut to Alec inside Whitaker Biomed. He stood behind Edgar's desk and announced that final ownership would be confirmed at noon the next day. The clinic demolition order would begin at the same time. He had shortened our clock. The director who signed Hannah's option sent one message from the road. Alec's office requested my garage route. I refused. 2 vehicles are following me. Hannah folded the phone into her palm. The man carrying 6% had become the most expensive target in the city. Alec held a press conference to expose me as a broke driver. Glenn used the same stage to identify me as Mosaic's founder and the real Glasswire. The director carrying Hannah's 6% option had survived the night inside a guarded hotel room. At 11:30, he left for Whitaker Biomed with the original locked in his briefcase. That gave us 30 minutes. My 20% Mosaic collateral stayed with Maris if he missed noon. 9 remained silent, and my world remained black. Alec still decided to insult my jacket. He had built a media wall inside Whitaker Biomed's lobby. My old courier photograph filled 3 stories of glass. One word sat beneath it: driver. Edgar's desk stood below the screen. Hannah's red badge sat inside a clear case on top. Alec had also displayed my founder key after a guard emptied my pockets. He thought both objects were props. Generous man. Reporters filled the lobby. Investors took the front row. Whitaker workers watched from the upper walkways while temporary security lined the walls. Alec lifted one hand. This company has spent a week under attack by a courier, a failed repairman, and a casino-linked lender. Glenn whispered beside me. Failed repairman feels personal. He saw your shop, I said. Alec changed the wall. It showed me carrying clinic boxes, bleeding outside the casino, and standing beside Hannah after the brake crash. Hannah Whitaker confused gratitude with judgment, Alec told the cameras. Nico Barrett exploited that weakness. Hannah's breathing stayed even. Maris checked her watch. She had lost public clients for funding us and still looked bored. He found one true sentence about me. Shame about the rest. Alec brought out the contractor he had hired to smear Mosaic. The man wore a visitor badge and held one single-page statement with both hands. Alec pointed at him. Tell them who coordinated the threats. The contractor looked at the page, then at Alec. Read it, Alec snapped. The man started. Mosaic coordinated harassment and labor disruption. A woman on the upper walkway stood before he finished. She was the junior developer whose lock Alec's freeze had nearly changed. She held up her payroll screen. Nico sold his first Glasswire master to pay us after you froze the money. Alec ordered security to remove her. The developer closed her laptop. You fired me yesterday. She came down the stairs anyway. 5 Mosaic employees moved with her and stood between the guard and the stage. Alec had called me poor, fraudulent, and dependent on Hannah in under 4 minutes. He had also packed every camera in the city into one room. Beautiful planning. The executive doors opened behind the employees. 23 Mosaic workers entered wearing small black key pins. They were the people who had stayed after the payment freeze, the buyout offer, and Alec's takeover. One carried the same cracked phone Glenn had repaired on launch day. Another carried a coil of radio station cable over one shoulder because nobody had found time to dress the rebellion properly. They stopped beside the junior developer instead of taking Alec's empty press seats. Alec looked at the pins. Costumes do not establish ownership. Glenn smiled. Good, I brought the owner. A reporter pushed a microphone toward me. Mr. Barrett, do you own Mosaic? I pointed toward the black founder key on Edgar's desk. I own the key. The room laughed. Alec laughed loudest. Glenn walked onto his stage. A guard blocked him. Glenn held up his public chief executive badge. I run Mosaic. Alec waved him through because he expected a frontman to beg. Glenn picked up the founder key and faced the cameras. Nico bought the radio station, Glenn said. He funded Mosaic. I run it because he trusted me with the job. The senior engineer connected one portable screen. The media wall went black. Then our old radio tower appeared. The rooftop sign lit behind Glenn. Mosaic. One record filled the wall beneath it. Founder, Nico Barrett. The word driver disappeared. Founder replaced it. The laughter died before Alec reached the controls. The senior engineer stepped between him and the panel. You fired us before buying us. Optimistic. Alec ordered a Whitaker technician on the upper walkway to unlock the wall controls. The technician removed the service key from his belt and tossed it down to the senior engineer instead. You canceled my badge at sunrise, the technician told Alec. Ask your new staff. The senior engineer caught the key and locked the panel. Alec had built a 3-story insult. A fired technician just gave us the controls. A temporary guard reached across Edgar's desk for the founder key. Glenn moved it first and pressed the black metal into my palm. The guard opened an evidence bag. Mr. Granger ordered every disputed asset secured. Hannah caught the bag and turned it inside out over Alec's shoes. Plastic ties and blank labels scattered across the stage. The key bought the building your cameras are streaming from, Hannah told the guard. Try securing the building next. Maris placed her black access chip on top of the empty bag. Touch him again, and every account I still have leaves before lunch. The guard looked at Alec. Alec snapped, "Do your job." The guard set the bag on Alec's desk and backed away. The room had watched Alec lose a screen, a technician, and a guard in under a minute. His mouth kept spending authority after the balance hit zero. Maris raised the funded bridge page from the front row. The same screen showed one valuation and nothing else. Mosaic value, $1.2 billion. Alec's rejected $300 million offer appeared beside it with his signature. He had called the company worthless after trying to buy it. Reporters checked the number. Then, they checked his face. One investor in Alec's front row stood. "You told us Mosaic would be insolvent by morning." Alec kept his eyes on me. "The shares are distressed." The investor dragged his chair into the aisle and sat facing my side of the stage. A second investor copied him. Alec's front row had started relocating before he made his next offer. He opened a purchase screen. $700 million for Nico's stake, cash today. Maris gets repaid, Hannah gets her office. There it was, my company, my eye, and Hannah's future inside one ugly bid. "You offered 300 when the workers were scared," I told him. "Now the room knows my name, so you found another 400. I pushed the screen back across Edgar's desk. "Keep bidding, the answer stays no." One investor closed his notebook. Another began recording Alec's offer. Alec had tried proving I owned nothing. He raised my price in public instead. Glenn nodded toward the sound booth. A raw clinic recording played. Children coughed in the hallway. Ruben's chair scraped beside the broken piano. My fingers missed one bad key. Then my unfiltered voice entered. "Keep talking, I can still follow your voice." Glenn handed me the microphone. I faced the sound of the room. "If the lights go dark, stay where I can hear you." Glasswire appeared beneath my founder name. At the radio station, Lena screamed through Mosaic's live feed. Her camera jumped onto the media wall before Sadie could stop it. "For the record," Lena announced, "I only accused him of stealing Glasswire's jacket once." Sadie dragged her out of frame. Mosaic traffic spiked while my younger roommates humiliated themselves internationally. Balanced family. A reporter turned toward Hannah. "Did you choose Nico after learning he was a billionaire?" Hannah took his microphone. "I'm bringing the 6% that decides this company. Ask me about the chair." Maris leaned toward the same microphone. She was possessive while he still slept in a basement. Hannah pulled it back. "You were holding his hand in a casino," Maris said. "He was bleeding," Hannah answered. "He does that around you too often." The reporters forgot Alec for 3 very satisfying seconds. I cut in. "Both of you are helping him change the subject." Hannah handed the microphone back before the reporter could shrink further. Alec looked toward the paid contractor. He placed a pen on the single-page statement and shoved both across Edgar's desk. "Sign it," Alec ordered. "Take sole responsibility for the transport operation." The contractor stared at the signature line. Alec stepped close enough for every microphone to catch him. "Do your job." The contractor tore the page in half. Then he ripped the visitor badge from his jacket. A small garage route key had been taped behind it. He threw the key to Hannah. "That opens the blocked lower ramp," the contractor told her. Alec sent the car that hit Edgar. "His kill switch is under Edgar's desk." Alec lunged before the last word cleared the microphones. The contractor ducked behind the reporters. Alec struck a camera and sent it spinning across his own stage. Hannah caught the garage key. Her phone vibrated in the same hand. The 6% director's live garage feed showed his sedan entering Whitaker Biomed's lower level. A black vehicle blocked the ramp behind him. Another stopped across the exit. 6 men stepped out. The director locked his doors and lifted the briefcase into view. One attacker smashed the driver's window. The feed went black. A wall clock above Alec's ruined stage showed 12 minutes before noon. Hannah was already running. 12 minutes before noon, Hannah used the contractor's garage key to open the blocked lower ramp. Alec's men had boxed the 6% director between 2 vehicles. I followed Hannah's voice down the concrete stairs. Maris came behind us with her public security team. She sent them to the ramps and exits. "Hold the doors," Maris ordered. "Nobody touches the director unless Hannah reaches him first." Her people blocked the escape routes. Hannah and I still had to clear the center. The director's sedan sat against a support column. One window had shattered. 2 attackers pulled at the rear door while a third held the director's briefcase. The original 6% option was inside it. The wall clock showed 11:48. One attacker saw Hannah. Alec wants the paper. Leave the old man. Hannah grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and pulled the pin. Tell Alec he should have asked nicer. She blasted white powder across the men at the sedan. The first attacker covered his face. Hannah drove the metal canister into his stomach and sent him across the hood. The second attacker swung toward her. I heard his shoe slide through the powder. I stepped between the sound and Hannah, caught his forearm, and drove him into the open car door. My injured shoulder screamed. I kept the arm locked until his baton hit the floor. The third attacker ran with the briefcase. Maris's people held the exit and waited for her order. Maris called toward Hannah. Your share is leaving. Hannah chased it herself. The attacker reached the ramp, slipped on the extinguisher powder, and caught the rail. He kept the briefcase. Hannah hit the release on a parked equipment cart. The cart rolled down the slope and crushed his escape path against the wall. He jumped aside. Hannah caught the briefcase handle with both hands. He pulled her toward him. Hannah let go with one hand and punched him across the mouth. The briefcase stayed with her. I heard another attacker rush behind me. The baton struck my ribs before I turned. My knees hit concrete. He raised it again. The director opened his damaged rear door and slammed it into the attacker's legs. The man fell across me. I took the baton, rolled him off, and drove its handle into the floor beside his head. Stay down, I told him. The company is changing owners upstairs. He stayed down. Maris's security team moved after the attackers lost position. They restrained the men, cleared the ramp, and opened a path to the elevators. The director climbed from the sedan with blood on his collar and one shoe missing. He looked at Hannah holding the briefcase. You could take it and leave me, he told her. Hannah put the handle back in his hand. Your choice has to walk into that atrium. The director gripped the case. Alec had stripped his office, revoked his badge, followed his car, and sent men to take the share. Hannah handed the briefcase back after saving him. I will carry it, the director said. The wall clock showed 11:53. 7 minutes. We entered the service elevator together. The director keyed the old service code from memory. Hannah's badge remained red. I leaned against the wall and listened to the elevator climb. 9 stayed silent. My ribs hurt. My left shoulder barely moved. Blood from the garage had reached my sleeve. Hannah took my hand and placed it on the briefcase handle beside hers. We get it there, Hannah told me. I answered, you get it there. I will handle the idiot standing in front of it. Maris took a pistol from one restrained attacker, removed the magazine, and handed the empty weapon to her own team. No shooting in the atrium, Maris ordered. The cameras need clean audio. The elevator doors opened at 11:55. Alec was already announcing ownership. Whitaker Biomed's main atrium held employees, investors, reporters, and a wall-sized control display. The display showed Alec's coalition at 49%. Hannah's side showed 45%. The final 6% remained gray. Alec stood beneath the wall with Hannah's red badge in one hand and a demolition order in the other. A live corner feed showed workers chaining the damaged clinic's side entrance. Another feed showed 3 future supply trucks parked at a warehouse gate. Alec faced the cameras. At noon, the clinic property closes. Hannah Whitaker leaves this company. Edgar's recovery will occur without further disruption from the driver who exploited his daughter. Hannah walked into the atrium carrying the briefcase beside the director. Every camera turned. Alec's sentence stopped halfway through the word driver. The director's missing shoe slapped against the floor with each step. He looked ridiculous and completely necessary. Alec recovered first. You signed under coercion. The director opened the briefcase. Your men tried coercion in the garage. Hannah brought me here alive. He removed the 6% option and placed it on the control desk. Alec pointed at security. Remove them. Nobody moved. The temporary security chief looked at the gray 6% block on the wall. Then he looked at Hannah. The director pressed his thumb to the confirmation pad. The gray block turned white. Hannah's coalition climbed from 45 to 51%. Alec stayed at 49. The wall displayed one line across the atrium. Controlling owner, Nico Barrett. The company had tried buying my gratitude, pricing my eye, starving Ruben's clinic, and carrying Hannah's desk into the street. Now its own wall called the broke driver, its controlling owner. Alec gave the security chief another order. Remove them now. The security chief faced Hannah. Your order? Hannah answered. Open every door. Release the clinic trucks. Protect the employees. The guards obeyed her. The atrium doors unlocked. The warehouse feed showed one supply truck driver starting his engine. Alec's investors stood from the front row. He reached for the nearest man. The investor pulled his sleeve free and walked out. Then the others followed. Alec still held Hannah's red badge. It flashed green in his hand. Her authority had returned while he still held the proof. Alec threw it across the atrium. Hannah caught it. Alec's mouth opened. Nobody waited for the next order. Glenn's voice came through the lobby speakers from the media room upstairs. Mosaic emergency stream is live, Glenn announced. Every employee can see the control wall, phones across the atrium lit with the same 51%. His last investor reached the doors before the minute hand moved. He should have folded. Naturally, he reached for stolen technology. Alec reached beneath Edgar's desk and pulled out the black switch the contractor had warned us about. Then he opened his jacket. A flat project. 9 core was strapped against his chest beneath a clear plate. Thin cables ran from the core to the switch in his hand. The plate was cleaner than Cyrus's stolen rig. Alec's smile was the same. A senior Whitaker engineer in the front row stood so fast his chair tipped backward. He stared at the clear plate, then shoved 2 lab assistants behind a concrete column. "That housing is missing its heatsink," the engineer called. "Get away from him." Alec pointed at security. "Remove that man." The engineer picked up his fallen chair and carried it behind Hannah instead. 3 technical staff followed him. The people paid to understand the Project 9 program had moved away from Alec's chest. Hannah pulled the director behind the control desk. Maris widened the exit lane. Alec watched the room prepare for his machine to fail. Naturally, he pressed the switch. The dead artificial eye inside my skull ignited. Pain drove through my face and dropped me to one knee. My balance vanished. The atrium tilted even though I could not see it. 9 did not answer. Alec's shoes crossed the floor toward me. "You built your fortune with my program," Alec told me. "Your eye, your platform, your singer identity. Every useful part started with something I financed." He grabbed my hair and lifted my face toward the cameras. "Transfer the shares and the implant. I can restore the system." I heard Hannah move. Alec swung his other arm toward her. The core surged. His forearm struck a glass desk and broke it in half. Hannah stopped outside his reach. I answered him from my knees. "You financed cages." Ruben stole 1 door. Alec pressed the switch again. The implant burned hotter. The core beneath his jacket whined. A fraction later, my eye burned. Alec's device moved first. Alec kicked me across the floor. My back hit the control wall beneath the 51% display. The wall cracked around my shoulder. Maris's security team raised weapons from the exits. Hannah threw one hand out. "Hold." The weapons stayed lowered. Alec still had to come through me. Alec laughed. "He is blind, injured, and disconnected. What exactly are you protecting?" Hannah picked up a broken metal desk leg. She struck it once against the floor to my left. The sound gave me her position. "The people you keep using as leverage," Hannah told Alec. Alec charged toward her. I pushed off the wall and caught his sleeve. His enhanced shoulder turned and threw me over the broken desk. I landed on glass, rolled, and lost the air in my chest. Alec reached Hannah before I stood. He caught the 6% option from the control desk and tore it in half. The wall stayed at 51. The director laughed through a split lip. The transfer already counted. Alec struck him into a chair. The atrium reacted. Employees moved around the director. Security shifted closer to Hannah. Alec had torn paper after losing the company. Expensive confetti. He pressed the kill switch a 3rd time. The core whined first. Its pitch rose higher than before. His breath stopped for 1 beat after the surge. I stood. Alec heard me and turned. "Stay down!" I told him. "Press it again." He smiled. "Begging now?" Told him. "Testing your heart." His smile twitched. That tiny reaction gave me more than 9 had all morning. Alec rushed me without pressing the switch. I heard the cable strike his jacket. I caught his wrist, but the enhanced force drove us into a support column. My injured shoulder gave way. His hand closed around my artificial eye socket. Alec pulled. Pain flashed white inside the dark. Hannah struck the metal desk leg against the floor again. One sharp sound. "Follow my voice," Hannah told me. 3 years earlier, I had said the same thing while pulling her from a crushed car. I turned toward her voice and loosened my grip. Alec shoved harder. I stepped across his lead foot and dragged his switch wrist over my shoulder. The cable snapped tight between his hand and the core. Alec tried pulling back. I wrapped the cable around his forearm and turned with his enhanced charge. He crashed chest first into the cracked control wall. The clear core plate split. Alec roared and drove an elbow into my ribs. I dropped, still holding the cable. He raised the switch. I pulled the cable across the broken edge of the plate. The insulation tore under my fingers. Bare metal touched my thumb. Alec pressed the switch again. The command hit the exposed cable and drove straight into his cracked core. The core burst with an electrical crack. Reporters shouted. The surge threw Alec backward from the wall and ripped the switch from his hand. He hit Edgar's desk, rolled across it, and fell beneath the chair he had stolen. The core whined once, then died. My artificial eye cooled. 9 remained silent. Alec tried standing. His arms shook under him. He reached for the dead switch. I stepped on it first. Alec looked up at me from beneath Edgar's desk. "I built this." I crushed the switch casing under my heel. "You bought it," I told him. "You couldn't even make your own machine obey." Alec pointed toward security. "Arrest him. Remove Hannah. Close the doors." The security chief looked at Hannah. Hannah clicked her restored badge onto her jacket. Open the doors wider. The atrium doors opened. Alec's remaining investors walked through them. The workers on the upper levels started clapping after the investors left. The sound spread downward until the whole atrium shook with it. Police entered only after Alec had lost the company, the core, the room, and the right to give orders. They restrained him beside the broken switch. He kept demanding Edgar's chair. Nobody brought it. I walked toward Hannah by following her breathing. She caught my good hand before I missed the control desk. The 51% wall still glowed above us. I pulled Edgar's chair away from the desk and turned it toward her. I won't take another rescue gift, Hannah said. Good. Take the job. I placed her restored badge on the desk and pushed the chair against her knees. They already obey you. Sit. Hannah looked at the employees waiting for an order. Then she sat. The executive elevator opened as the security chief placed the clinic delivery keys in front of her. Edgar entered in a wheelchair, pale and awake, with Ruben on speaker through the phone in his lap. The first clinic truck appeared on the wall feed behind them, rolling through the damaged doorway with medicine boxes. Ruben's rough voice filled the atrium. Did the piano survive? It died heroic and badly tuned, I told him. Ruben answered, then buy me a worse one. Hannah gave her first order from the chair. Send every truck, keep every future route open. The remaining warehouse vehicles pulled away together. Edgar opened the square signet box from the clear hospital bag. He offered the family signet to me first. I closed his hand around it and turned his wrist toward Hannah. Edgar understood. He placed the signet in his daughter's palm. Your batch was dead and they still followed you, Edgar told her. Keep the chair. Hannah closed her fingers around the signet. Maris approached with the bridge page. She tore the failure clause across Alec's crushed switch. Mosaic stays yours, Maris said. Whitaker stock replaces the collateral. Glenn came down from the media room and pressed the founder key into my palm. The control wall changed one final time. Mosaic equity. Nico Barrett. $1.032 billion, unencumbered. A smaller line beneath it turned from red to green. Payment routes active. The junior developer's phone chirped in the front row. Her locked rent warning changed to paid. The first secret 9 revealed had earned me $25,000. The company built from that freedom had made me a billionaire. The screen showed it where Alec had called me a broke driver. Glenn tapped the founder key. You still own the basement suite? Burn it. The atrium doors opened again. Lena and Sadie entered carrying one trash bag of my clothes and the old basement key. Too late, Lena announced. Sadie held up a phone showing the restored estate codes. We moved your things into Edgar's upstairs suite. Edgar turned his wheelchair toward them. You did what? Lena pointed at me. He owns the company. Sadie corrected her. That still does not include the house. It should, Lena muttered. I held out my hand for the key. Lena hid it behind her back. Hannah took it anyway and ended my 30-day driver contract in front of the whole atrium. She placed the basement key inside Edgar's empty signet box. You are no longer my driver, Hannah told me. Fired after buying the company? Hannah stepped close enough for the cameras to lose useful angles. Promoted to equal trouble. Then she kissed me. 3 years earlier, I traded an eye to keep her alive. Now she held the chair, I held the company, and nobody in that room could price either of us into helplessness again. My vision stayed dark. The artificial eye warmed after days of dead silence. Nine's childlike voice returned inside my skull. Independent owner confirmed. Retrieval begins in 30 days.